you want to compare it? But there's 7-6.
Oh my God.
What's going on? Is it just a cold or what?
It was, it is, okay, we're gonna.
Well, we'll just sit there. It's not like it's a crime.
I don't know. She just told me to wait.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
Good. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. How can you go wrong? Show up work the next day, ready to go, right? Pow,
Right.
bam.
Right. I don't know if Jess told you, Jason, but the link on the dashboard to get to the other Zoom meetings.
Can we turn her up by any chance? Maybe I'm like, how do you do it?
I have a meeting with you at noon, so I can tell you then too. It's not that.
I'm having Jason turn you up because I can't, like, I think I'm kind of hard of hearing, but. Okay. And what were you saying? What link?
Okay, so the link on the dashboard to enter, like there's 3 links for Zoom meetings. And the one that says all other classes, like team meetings, featured trainings, that doesn't work.
What happens when you click it?
So it puts you into Zoom and then it just says the host is in another meeting and it'll just do that nonstop.
Well, that's a dummy host, but I'll get it cleaned up.
I don't know if that's what you can fix, but I just wanted, you're the only person that I would know to talk to about that.
So, did you use the Friday email?
Yeah, so I used the Friday email to get in yesterday and today, and that worked.
You are such a jerk. Oh my God.
What did you do?
He was standing right next to me and ah! Like made my skin
I
crawl.
feel like he's like grabbed up. Okay, yes.
You know what else he does is he will walk up behind me and then just stand there like this. And then I'll turn around and I'm like,
And he's there.
ah!
I had him turn M up. Now I feel like it's a little bit too low.
Oh.
Which one is it?
It's the.
Okay, M, hello, can you talk for a second?
Hi. Yeah, can you hear me?
I think it's good. I don't know. I don't want it to be too loud or too quiet. So he already hit record. I was like, just want to say, but do you want to wait maybe 2 more minutes? We'll wait like 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
Since we're expecting Thomas. And did you say Andrea will be Zoom or in person?
They accepted on their calendar invites. But they didn't say
Which one?
Okay, Jenny said she's Zooming. She's
Okay, I
gonna
don't
be a
think I've
couple
met
minutes
Jenny.
late.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've met Jenny. Let's see.
Jenny, sure you have.
Jenny. Am
Yeah.
I going insane?
You've met her.
What's her last name?
Ourin.
Okay, the
Blonde
name's
hair gal.
familiar.
She was here yesterday. She sat right here. Blonde hair, long
Yes.
curls.
She had like a kind of blazer?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
okay.
Okay, so let me see who's coming.
And you're the only one who's on time.
Well, yesterday I was not, because I was trying to get in for like 30 minutes and then
You were trying to what?
well, I had a work meeting for the first half an hour, then I tried to get in through that link forever, and then I called you. So I was late yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So how do we get that, like, are people just using this or are we using paper? How do we get
Depends. Do you want each paper?
I don't know. I mean, no one's in here except for you guys. I would just ask what people wanted to learn, you know, like at the beginning.
I usually use the whiteboard. I'm a whiteboard guy, so that stuff.
I don't know what I don't know if I have a preference.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, okay, we can just do it.
Yeah.
Is this supposed to be a shower?
Yeah, it's good.
I feel like it needs more.
That's-
3.
That's a club. I think that's
It's
what you use for cards.
It's a green club.
And do clubs have only 3, right?
I think so.
Oh my God.
Just hang it over.
Look, I'm not a genius artist.
Make it a whiteboard.
Somewhere out there is an award for a wizard, pirate, ninja, and that's mine. but nowhere in that description is artist.
Okay, so, Thomas is coming on Zoom.
Cool.
Jenny's coming on Zoom.
Good news is you won't have to stand here and talk to yourself like I did on Thursday. I mean, there are people on Zoom, but
Yeah.
it's really weird standing in this big
Like, when
room,
you're over.
talking to yourself.
You guys don't have to stay here all day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel like you have
Oh, we do.
It's totally fine because
That's what we do.
that's what we do. And then we add things and then we tell them to do things
to.
and.
Okay.
And you know
I'm
what
all
else you
about
do?
those, yeah.
You sneak up behind people, and then you listen to them tell funny jokes, and then you laugh out loud and scare them.
That's what he
I
does.
do.
That's what he does.
It's part of being the joke, part of the job, part of the show. It's all free.
Okay, so Thomas and then Andrea, is it the new Andrea, the newer Andrea?
Yep.
Okay, because the other Andrea is still here, right?
Yeah, she was here yesterday.
That's what I thought, that
I
was her. I
haven't
was
seen
like,
her or talked to her in at least 8 months.
yeah.
So
I was like, is that her?
hello?
Yeah.
Who's that, Andrea?
Andrew
Even
Edenholm?
though, yeah.
Did you buy everybody breakfast today?
Hmm?
Did you buy everybody breakfast?
No, but Matt or John did.
Oh, that's why he was offering that to me. Okay, so there's Jenny.
Jenny,
Hello.
welcome. Thanks for joining. We have,
Thomas.
yay.
Okay, let me see where.
We're just waiting, guys, for
Last week you got us
another
Chick-fil-A.
minute. We think at least one more person's joining.
Last week you got us Chick-fil-A for breakfast.
Oh, so nice.
You come on Friday mornings, arrive on time, and you get free breakfast.
He did offer me a sandwich, but I can't eat that.
Hey,
I mean, I can, but.
Jesus, it's delicious. It's sausage and cheese and eggs smashed between two pancakes. How can you go wrong?
This is Chick-fil-A?
No, this is called McDonald's.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Chick-fil-A.
Last week was Chick-fil-A.
I haven't had Chick-fil-A breakfast.
Oh, it's delicious. I recommend the bowl, because you can get a bowl with eggs
Oh, yeah.
and cheese. A few tater tots are in there. And then you can put this chipotle jelly on there. That they come in?
Chipotle jelly.
That sounds
Yeah,
good.
it comes in there and you mix it in there. Oh my God.
Then I don't have to eat with my
It's a
hands. I can use
crime.
fork.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Thomas.
Okay,
Hopschult,
I was like, is it?
But he
Hopschulte or
says-
Hopschulte?
but my dad says Hopschulte,
Okay,
so you
I
can say Hopschulte.
well, I think I should say how you say it.
But I don't have that name anymore, so we should say it how he says it because he currently has that name.
Okay, so Thomas says with the E at the end?
Yeah.
He does, okay,
Hopschulte.
got it.
Thomas, how do you say it? He went so bad.
Thomas, are you on mute or did
He's
you?
not there.
Did we lose you? All right.
He just turned on Zoom.
We
He
lost
turned
him
on Zoom and
before
then
we
went away to another room.
Run away. Jessica keeps asking me. I'm on. Okay, I'm not
Should
seeing,
we just start, do you think?
let me see. Where to find Andrea?
Edit.
I told you what she wants. What do you think, Jess? Should we wait for Andrea?
Yeah.
She's still
Because Irene said that, we talked about, Irene is so funny, she's like, so they need to accept their calendar invites. And I'm like, okay, this morning they don't have to, and yes, I understand what you're saying. But the thing is like, even if they accept, that doesn't mean that they're coming,
really gonna
right?
come, yeah.
So,
But I know if they're not gonna come, they'll.
she's like, well, we need to do something, and I was like, oh my God, you need to calm
Irene's
down.
laying down the law.
She
From
is,
Georgia, is it Georgia?
yeah,
Okay.
she's getting crabby this morning, I'm like, oh my God.
Hey,
Go-
Jess,
calm down. Yeah,
the reason that Emily was having difficulty yesterday and today
yeah,
is because the meeting is initiated as PC group coaching,
yeah,
but they don't necessarily know that. So she was trying to log into all other meetings when on the dashboard, the meeting you signed into is PC group coaching.
Yep,
Does that make sense?
yep.
But she was signing into all other classes.
Oh, I didn't know it gave you a choice when you did that.
There's three.
I didn't know either. When Em called me
Zoom
yesterday, I said,
links.
just go to the Friday email. And that one. That's the right one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there are 3 links on the
The
KWPR dashboard, and it's PC group coaching, tech classes, all other classes. So if you don't see this as a PC
Right,
class,
you would do all of it.
you would do all other.
I got it, yeah,
And
because, right, because I did sign in as PC today and yesterday. I get what you're saying.
so that's why she couldn't get in, because she's trying to go into other classes.
Okay.
And
So then it's just when we get that link, it says just go to PC, is what we should tell them, right?
well,
Is that easiest?
at the end of the day, I'm guessing, I don't know. It just has
I'll
to be.
just try both.
Well,
If I can't get into one, I'll go in the other.
At the end of the day, we need to do a better job making that clear. That's all I'm
Right.
saying. Which one?
No, yeah, but I get what you're saying. So if I can't get it, I'll just do the PC one. And if that one doesn't work, I'll go into the other one.
It's good you brought it up, because I'm
Yeah,
sure you're not
'cause
the only one
That's
who-
not.
Yeah.
That is not an uncommon error. And that's, feedback is the breakfast of champions. So, that's how you get the things fixed for people.
Well, 9:12.
Let her rip, man.
Should I just start? I ask them
Oh,
what they
yeah.
want to talk about? I mean, Andrea's probably whatever. Okay, so, Thomas, can you hear me yet? He's still not there.
Hello?
Hi, Thomas.
Hey,
How's
let's
it going? Good morning.
put your cameras on to keep them on. Today.
You may not have brushed your hair yet, but we don't
Yep,
care.
and we don't care.
All right, well, no one wants to, that's okay. I'm not gonna be a stickler about it. All right, so we're gonna talk about sellers and listings. I have my phone because, Emily had told me a couple things that she wants to learn. But we'll go through what you guys wanna talk about today, and I'm sure, I have more things too, but just interrupt me at any time, ask questions at any time, super casual. Like 3 of you on Zoom, and I have Jess and Jason in the training room with me, so it's a small group. So sellers and listings, and we'll just start with you, and I'll kind of go over what, you had already texted me what you wanna talk about, so.
It's terrible.
You said, speak with two sellers about pricing their property, and then pictures, and what to tell sellers to do to get their listing ready. Anything you wanna add that you wanna talk about?
No, we can start with that. Oh, I don't.
Those are all good. Oh, and then you said more to elaborate on pictures, like how long before the listing goes live should you schedule, so.
Yeah, because I realized I just sent a text that said pictures, and then it's probably like, what about pictures? I guess my main question, would be that, like, when do you schedule pictures?
Yeah, no, that's good. All right, Jenny, what would you want to learn about today?
Hello, can you hear me?
How are you?
Good. Yeah, the same thing. That was the first thing that Emily had said. Yeah. Yeah, narrowing down pricing. It just feels like right now it's ever changing and just being.
Totally. Awesome. Thomas, do you have anything that you want to talk about, learn more about today regarding sellers?
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering about, laying out a timeline for your client as far as like as a withheld and then pictures to, I guess, putting it on that Friday morning or else Thursday morning. I guess just the whole timeline, which is best for I guess for a withheld.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I was wondering about.
No, that's awesome. I have that on my list, the timeline, so that's perfect. All right, anything else you guys can think of right now?
Yes, they want to know about a listing packet.
That's a very good one. Jason said listing packet. Cool.
Because a listing packet can help provide the buyer or the seller with the information from a schedule. Here's when this happens, here's when this happens, here's when this happens.
Usually there's like some sort of checklist or timeline there.
Mhm.
Perfect.
I think the other thing too is actually doing a listing, so appointment. They need to do 10 listing appointments. You know, the first task is they need to do 10 practice buyer appointments.
Yep.
And
So just
so
do them on anyone?
they're going, yep, friends, family,
Yep.
right, making those appointments.
Yep.
And then once they finish those, the 10th one needs to be with me, Jason, or Melissa. And then same thing for listing. So,
Yeah.
and my favorite story is Jenny's when she was meeting with her dad and he leans in at the end of the buyer consult and says, so we're thinking about listing the end of May. Will that work? She's like, are you moving? Right? So then, yeah, he's like, well, we've been thinking about it.
And this was real.
This was
Like,
real.
he really-
This was
oh my
like a
gosh.
week and a half ago.
Awesome.
And so now it's like, okay, well, now I have a listing appointment.
Now it's
And
real.
and what is that like, right? And now we're like, this is for real, right?
Yeah.
So people are getting real things happening from the practices.
That's so awesome.
And so now it's, what is a practice, what does that look like, right? If
Yeah.
they were gonna be doing a practice one with somebody,
Yeah.
what is it that they need to do?
Love it. Cool, we'll definitely talk about all that. Does everyone know each other? Like, they're all in PC, so they do know each other?
I don't know, Emily, do you know
What?
Jenny and Thomas?
Why don't we
I'd
just go
say
really
I
quick?
haven't met Emily.
Okay, why don't we just go around and say your name, how long you've been licensed,
Where you live?
where you live, yeah. So Thomas, you wanna start?
I'm Thomas. I live in Fridley. I've been an agent for I think it's 6 weeks now. So yeah.
Hey. Awesome. Jenny?
My name's Jenny. I've also been an agent for about 6 weeks. And I live down in Waterville. It's west of Faribault.
Cool.
I'm Emily. I've been licensed for like a month, maybe, but the first week I was not here. So we'll say 3 weeks active doing stuff. And I live in Richfield.
Cool. And then I'm Megan. I've been licensed, it'll be 3 years in August, and I live in Burnsville, close to here. All right, so I wanted to start out with kind of that initial conversation that you have with a potential seller. So one thing for me, and again, you guys, if you have questions or comments, please just interrupt me at any time. One thing with me, so many times a potential seller may,
We get the camera on you.
oh yeah, do you want me to like, when I know this?
Do that.
I don't need it. Do I need to move the table? I
I
suppose, because they
know
can't
you
even
wanna
see me.
look up there, but the camera's there, so you have to point at the camera. There you go.
That's probably good, right? And you move to this a little bit, and then if you go to the whiteboard, whatever it's called.
Yeah, then you get it all.
There we go. Better, okay.
Woohoo!
Thanks, Jess.
Here you go,
Yeah.
Jessica.
Okay, so, a lot of times people may text or message you or whatever. I like to get them on the phone. So that's kind of my first thing. You're looking to sell, perfect, would love to help you, and then set a time where you can chat with them on the phone. I don't set the actual listing appointment until I've talked with them on the phone first, so, obviously get their address right away too. So I try to get the address very initial contact, even before the phone call, so I can research the property as much as I can beforehand. I'm looking on MLS, sometimes it may not be on the MLS if they built the home or if it's, too old or whatever, but that's always a great place to start. County website, even sites like Zillow, I know how we feel about Zillow, but we know that consumers do look on there, so a lot of times when you meet with them, they're gonna say, Zillow said my house is worth this much, so you just wanna be prepared for that. And kind of have it in your head if you do think, when you go out for the listing appointment, if it is close to that price or not. And you'll know more once we see the home, of course, too. So again, researching the property and then also the location. I feel like, especially now in this crazy market, I've been finding that if homes are in a super desirable area, they are selling for more than you would even think, like based on the criteria, like bedrooms, bathrooms, finished square feet. If they're in an area that's super popular right now, you can almost price them a little bit higher just because of that. And if so many people are trying to get into that neighborhood. So going off of the timeline question that Thomas had, so I like to try to get a feel for their timeline when we first talk on the phone too. Even if they're looking to list like several months out, I still try to get the appointment with them now and just put them in withheld. And I always spin it like, you know, I would still love to come out and see the home. I like to start working on things as soon as I can on my end. And we can have you in this withheld status where you're not on the MLS until you're ready to go. I always stress that I'm on their timeline, so you're not pressuring them, but also telling them about the state of this market where we know that right now sellers are getting top dollar, inventory is super low, all of that stuff. And we don't know what the market will look like, you know, even a couple of months from now. But again, I never want to come across as pushing them in the list if they're not quite ready. Does that all make sense so far?
What's the benefit to them of doing a withheld while you're doing that?
So I would say, like, for my benefit, then I know I have the listing, right?
Right.
Because, you know, if they're looking at months from now, who knows if another agent, they may talk to another agent. But at that point, they're locked in with you. You'll keep in touch with them for sure. For them, you know, I would say you could start giving them advice on what they need to do to get the home ready now. Because it's never too soon to start decluttering, depersonalizing, all of that stuff, deep cleaning, you know, even getting the stager out and all that stuff too, so.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit more like the withheld status? Like, what does that mean?
For sure. So when they're in withheld status, and I don't know if I've ever had a listing that isn't in withheld initially, because when you go to the listing, you have them sign literally one page that says they're withheld from the MLS. They're not active yet until they're ready to go active. The only way that they wouldn't sign withheld is if they would be ready to go active in 2 days, right? Yeah, so it has to be, a listing has to be entered into the MLS within 2 days of when they sign. So if they're not ready to go active within those 2 days, they have to be withheld. So again, it's withheld from the MLS, and again, they could be withheld for months. I have a listing that I signed them a couple months ago. They're not gonna be ready until like June. Another one I signed last month, same-ish timeline, like June, so.
So is that form also like signing with you? Like it's.
Yes, yep, it's part of all the other paperwork that you bring with the list.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I have a question. If they sign the withheld, then that is technically the under contract then?
Well, the listing contract is a separate document, but the withheld is like an additional document that you need if they're not ready to go active.
Okay.
Yeah, Thomas, like when I signed my neighbors and you were with, that was, I had them sign the contract to work with me and they also signed a withheld. And now they say, well, we don't know when we're gonna move. Well, it doesn't matter. Because I have them under contract and we don't have to go on the MLS ever. You know, it's whatever, but if you don't get that withheld and that contract signed, anybody can come in and take it.
Okay.
Contract signed. If you get the contract signed, you have to list their house within 2 days. That is the law of the contract that you sign. So the withheld allows you to postpone that.
For as long as the duration of the contract, really. I mean, I
So-
hope that doesn't happen, but.
Yeah, the withheld is a legality and a bonus that helps you and them get on a timeline. The contract is between you and them and obligates you to start marketing that property right away. Right. And since you don't intend to do that, that's what the withheld agreement is for.
Right, and the other thing that is golden about the withheld is now that you have that and you have them under contract and maybe they don't want to go on the MLS, you can tell everybody in this office, and you can
Yes.
market it that way. If you don't have that done, you can't do that. Right?
Yep, so withheld listings can be advertised to all the agents in our office. And I would let the sellers know that too, that that's an option for them. If they're interested in having agents from our office show their clients the home, we can do that while they're in withheld status. We can't do that when they're in coming soon, but we'll get to that. So I've had that, like my last listing, I had a couple agents from this office show when we were in withheld. And you know, maybe the sellers would rather like accept an offer that way, or potentially accept an offer that way and not have to go on the market and whatnot. If they're not totally like show ready, I would just let the agents in our office know, hey, they're willing to let your clients look at it, but it's not completely ready yet. But in this market, like sometimes buyers don't even care. So
Yeah, and the other thing too is that we've been talking a ton about golden letters. And so this is one of the things that you can go in and you can say, hey, you know what, I have a buyer. I can't guarantee that they're going to want your house. However, if we can go in withheld status, I can market it to everybody in my office. We don't have to go on the MLS, right? So that's like another way for you to say, do you want me to open this up to 200 people? You get them under contract and then you just do what you gotta do, right?
And I think if you think about all those things, when I mentioned, what's the benefit to the seller of being in a withheld status? These are all the things that are an advantage to them of being in withheld. So, I mean, it gives you, the agent, time to market their house in a way that doesn't force them to have to get ready at a level that they're gonna have to when it goes on. And if you can sell that house beforehand, that's amazing, and it's super, as we said before, if you've got a buyer who happens to fit that, if you can avoid that buyer having to get into a bidding war with 900 people, you are winning all over the place. And if you can get it into withheld, you know, that's a great thing for you. It also buys you a significant amount of time to develop a customized marketing plan for them that fits their needs. And that sounds nice to them as well.
makes sense, guys?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Okay, so going back to, I know we kind of went off about all that withheld stuff, but that's really good because I know that can be confusing for people. So back to the timeline thing, as I mentioned, when I talked to them initially, I like to get an idea of their timeline at that point. So like my last listing, they were ready to go like right away. I feel like that's not really the norm. Usually people need a little bit more time. Like with this last one, we met on a Friday. They weren't ready to sign because the husband was super tired that day, but I came back Monday and we went into coming soon that Friday. They got the house ready in like 5 days. So that's not normal, but either way, get that timeline from them just so you kind of know what to expect. Also ask their motivation for moving and then if they're purchasing after. Because if that's the case, you need to come up with a plan with them as to how you're gonna, work both sides of it. So the sale and then their next purchase. In this market, I know a lot of sellers are concerned about finding their next home because again, it's super competitive on the buy side, all of that kind of stuff. But give them, like at that point, like your initial conversation with them, try to ease their mind about that and give them options. And you'll talk more in detail at the listing appointment about those options, but let them know there are options. It is possible, even in this crazy market to make that happen for them. Things like a rent back, pushing closing out longer if they need time to find their next home, staying with family members temporarily, things like that. So just try to ease their mind with that because I know that's a concern for a lot of sellers right now too. In that initial phone call still, I would also confirm the criteria of the home to see if anything's changed from, what you can find online about it. So, still number of beds, baths, garage, total finished square feet, if they've done any work to the home since they purchased it. Even things like age of appliances, roof, things like that, and the condition of the home overall, just so you have a general idea. So I would never tell a seller, some people reach out right away, they're like, what do you think my house is worth? I would never tell an exact amount over the phone like that until you've seen the home. Because sometimes you just don't know what you're gonna walk into, like you can ask them about the condition or whatnot. Sometimes what they tell you isn't exactly, how you will see it. So just say, you know, I'd be happy to give you, a recommended price or a range when I come out to see the home in person. But that's why you want as much information beforehand, so you can kind of have an idea of what you would likely list it for, and then when you see it in person, you can confirm that. Okay, and then if you feel like it's like appropriate in the conversation, I do sometimes ask sellers if they have a price in mind, just to see if you guys are on the same page. If they're, you know, way off, from what you're thinking, you'll just want to be prepared for that and be prepared to show them data and comps when you go out there to show why you think, you know, it's different than what they're thinking. Also ask what they currently owe on their mortgage. If they have a second mortgage, that's important too. Their current interest rate, and then if there's anything like HOA fees, if there's an HOA with the home. Have you just given them an estimated net sheet example in PC at all?
The only thing that we have is the one that's in, well, Colin did a class and then, or recording, and then there's those two in Instanet.
Yeah, I use
And-
those ones. I use the one that's Steve.
Yes,
I got it from Sarah, but Steve.
Right, I used to use Steve's, and then I realized that the one in Instanet does all the calculating.
Yeah.
And I end up liking it a lot.
Do you like that one
And-
better?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is, you know, I always type in net sheet, that's never what it's called, right? It's estimated seller
Proceeds, I think?
proceeds, yeah. So the one that I use is got 3 columns.
Yep.
And it has, the second sheet has an explanation of what everything is. So there's a highlighted yellow part for, their mortgage, right? And then there's a highlighted yellow part, for another spot that you have to fill in, but that's the one that I would say, for people to use. And, you know, you can have it added to your template so that it's always
Yep.
in your listing documents.
Yep. So that's one thing you guys will want to bring with you to the listing appointment. And as Jess was saying, it's estimated seller proceeds, we think,
I think
something
that's
like
what
that
it's called.
in Instanet. If you can't find it, reach out to me and I'll help you with it later, but, or Jess. So when asking them, you know, what they owe on their mortgage, interest rate, all that stuff, you'll need that for the estimated net sheet. And then you said that one does have like 3 different price points?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So the one I use has the same thing where, and I always do this for sellers, you're gonna do 3 different price points to give them a range as to what they can net. And like 9 times out of 10, we'll go for the middle price.
Yeah.
But just to kind of show them, you know, if they're really stuck on listing their home for higher, you might end up going with that higher one. And again, in this market, sometimes it's working out for sellers that way, so.
Yeah, and I always tell agents, do not put a number in that 3rd column that you're uncomfortable with.
Good advice.
Like, you need to make sure
Good
that you're
advice.
comfortable listing that
Yep.
home at that price, otherwise, we call it buying the listing, right? You're just doing whatever they want,
Yeah,
and it's not gonna sell,
Yep.
right?
perfect. Questions about that stuff, anyone?
I don't have a question, I guess. The last guy I talked to about listing his house, it was, you know, he had a number in mind right off the bat. And he was like, oh, 340, I think we can get 340. And I was looking on Zillow and it was like 310. And then I couldn't find out, the only pictures I found was just like the front picture of the house. And so he was so adamant about this number, and he's like, yeah, we did all these improvements and updates. So yeah, we think 340 is where we're at. What do you think of that? And I was like, you know, I'd have to come out and look at the house. It kind of caught me off guard because I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, you know, I'd have to
Yeah.
check it out.
Sellers do have this number in their head, like right from the get-go, that they're stuck on. Did you end up going to the listing appointment?
I didn't. He wants to wait until his kids are out of school in June.
Okay. So did you look at comps around his home yet?
I did, and they were low 300s, so high 290s, 280s.
Okay, so quite a bit of a
Yeah.
difference. Okay. So, if he's waiting a little bit, that may be in his favor. I mean, we don't know if prices will continue to go up, but it's showing likely that they will, at least for the next couple months. I mean, toward the end of summer and fall is when it usually gets a little bit slower, but if he's saying when the kids are out of school, so is it like June-ish that he wants you to come out?
Yeah, like I guess he said we'll figure out after the kids are out of school for the summer.
Yeah. So again, like in that initial phone call, don't commit to any price point to them. It's good that you said you need to see the house, like that's perfect. But in the meantime, I would just A, stay in touch with him. B, just keep an eye on his area and see if homes are selling super quickly. They probably are. Which city is it in?
Coon Rapids.
Okay, is this the Golden Letter one?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So yeah, just keep an eye on the homes that are selling around there and just stay like super up to date on if they're selling in like one day. You know what you can also do too? I actually had another agent call me after a listing I had to ask how many offers we had, because that can kind of give you an idea. So if you see a home that sells near his, call that listing agent and say, even if it's not closed yet, if it's just pending, just say, hey, I am looking at listing a home near there too, just to kind of assist me with pricing. How many offers did you have on your listing? And can you tell me, like, did it sell for way over? Like, it's not closed yet, so they really can't tell you exactly what they accepted, but they may give you some idea.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so again, just stay like up to date on what's going on, and by the time you're ready to go out there, you can show him really what's going on in his neighborhood. He may not be that far off on pricing in this market, but as of now, it sounds like there's kind of a big gap. But if he's adamant about it, I would say, okay, here's the deal. If you want to price that high, like the comps are not showing that the homes are selling for that high, we can try it, because ultimately it is up to the seller what they want to price for. You can give your recommendations or whatnot, but it is their choice in the end. But just say to them, if you don't get an offer, I would say in this market, 10 days max. If you don't get an offer within that amount of time, we're gonna have to do a price reduction, because that is.
In 10 days, you said?
Yep, that's what I would say in this market, 10 days. I think before we would say like 10 or 14 days, but I would just say 10 days max. Like you should get an offer before that in this market, really. Is that what you're kind of saying, Jess? Like 10 days max if there's no offer, price reduction?
Yeah, well, I say 10 days or 10 showings.
Or 10 showings, yeah, sorry.
And
I just
so,
said it, yep.
because you're gonna get 10 showings in 2 days, right?
You should.
If
If you
you
don't,
price
then you're
well-
really overpriced.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and so then I tell them, and we always talk about that aspect being that, so, yeah, and they know, oh, we've had 10 showings and no one's making
No
an
offers,
offer.
right.
You're super overpriced, and I have that, you guys, I don't know if you've seen, but in my office on my door, when I close my door, there's a target. And
Yes.
it has an arrow and it shows, I'll go grab it, if you're X amount, if you're this much overpriced if you don't have any showings.
Yep.
You're this much overpriced if you have showings and no offers. And then, I'm gonna go grab it just so that you can.
Yeah, it's a good little
You can see
visual, and like to even bring that with you
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
listing appointment,
Super
especially
good.
for a guy like you're talking about, Thomas. Okay.
And
so
do you tell them like you really like how it looks on the MLS? Like if you do like reduce price, like you don't really want that.
Em, that is such a good point. Okay, so the goal the goal should never be to have a price reduction.
Right. Yeah.
Let's just try to price it this high. We can always reduce it. Yes, you can always reduce it, but tell them when you do that, you are losing momentum and that initial buzz that new listings have. Because as soon as buyers see that there's a price reduction, they start to wonder, well, what's wrong with that house? Why isn't it selling, especially in this market? Do price reductions?
And they're right to wonder.
Yes, exactly. And what's wrong with it typically is it's overpriced, right? But they start to wonder even like the condition of the property. What is wrong with it? So yes, you want to tell them that if there's a price reduction, those things can definitely happen. And the goal is to price it right from the beginning. And that definitely draws the most attention from buyers. So Jason brought up the seller's estimate of proceeds worksheet. This is the one in Instinet. So this is what I was talking about, one thing that you'll want to bring with you. And yeah, so as you guys can see this, right?
Yeah.
So he's just kind of filling in numbers here, like line 1, those are where you put the 3 different price points. And then he's putting the mortgage balance in there. Just brought in her little,
I'm gonna show you a bit after.
bullseye thing.
Yeah. Here it is. Let's see how well.
Yeah, it's like, how
How
come?
well we can see this there. That's what it is. Whoops, whoa. And I will send it to you guys. Oh my God, I can't. It's like looking in a mirror. There we go. And so that's what I pull out and show them. So I just downloaded it and I'll send you guys a copy of it.
Yeah, I think it's a good visual for sellers to see for sure.
It figures out things like state deed tax, when you put that
Yes.
in there, automatically. So that's one of the things that,
So, yeah, this looks like a lot, but I feel like some of this is not applicable to many listings if I'm,
yeah, I
this is
mean,
just a little bit different than the sheet that I used, but.
So, and this is nice here, so you'll put in
Yeah.
the $4.99 there, and then, I'm sorry, the percentage here.
Then the
And the
$4.99.
$4.99 here, and with this one, I
Breaks down.
had somebody one time put in, 6% here.
And then 2.7.
2.7 here. And I was
A little
like,
high.
wow, you are gonna give them a great deal when you tell them that you are actually not gonna be doing 6 here. You're doing 2.8.
Yeah.
no, you're not, you're gonna stick with the 6, you're gonna close it at 6, and then you're gonna still be like 8% under,
Right.
what's his name? Big
Right.
stretchy arm guy.
Big gap. But these ones here, so I'll go to my title company and I'll say, okay, so what are these, right? I just show it to her and she tells me the numbers and then I just always put those in.
Yep.
So
You
there's
can-
not a
Can you
ton.
save it pre-populated with those?
Yeah, you could template it and put that stuff in that you want, for sure.
With your title company, and then only have to change it if you're not using them?
Yep,
Yeah, awesome.
which makes life easy.
You guys have questions about this sheet? I know it looks like a lot and it's probably overwhelming at this moment, but just take some time later and like go through it. And again, like VA funding fee, VA mortgage, like if it's not a VA buyer, then those don't apply. Oh, I will note this. So seller paid buyer's closing cost. So in this market, it's not that common for the seller to pay the buyer's closing costs, right? But I always put that in there and I use 3% as an estimate because I like to, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, let's put it that way. So, and I like to be conservative with my numbers. So who knows, like maybe they will end up accepting an offer that they paid the buyer's closing cost. But if they don't, then their numbers are gonna be better at the end. So I always do that, even in this market, I put that in there. Yeah, so again, a lot of those would be from the title company. State deed tax, Jason already put that in, that's always.
No, it auto-populates.
Oh,
which
it
is great.
Okay, perfect. Yep, so that's like 0.33% or $3.30 per 1,000. Association dues doesn't apply to all homes, but just always check on that if there is an association. Even some single family homes have associations, so don't forget about that. The truth in housing code compliance building inspection. So some cities require that TISH report. Actually had our C class yesterday on it. So it's like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Bloomington, Richfield, like surrounding, and you can find that online which cities require it. But you'll want to find that out before you go out to the listing appointment if their city requires that, because they have to have that done before the home is on the market. So just another thing when they're in withheld to kind of plan out when they're gonna have that inspection done. So I put that amount in here because they do pay for it, I think after the inspection is done, but it's still like part of their fees, right, to sell the home. And well, disclosure filing fee. I don't know about that one.
That's municipal.
Yeah, I mean, so if it's a well or septic, I guess you'll just check on that. So any questions about this form? So again, the goal of this form is to show them what they can potentially net from 3 different price points. So again, you're giving that range. And yeah, if you go to the very bottom, Jason, so estimated cash to seller. So there's an example of what this person would at, 110. And then just to note too, so line 34 and 35. So total estimated selling expenses is on 34. And then new contract for deed or mortgage to seller. Okay, so they don't have their mortgage as a separate. I think the one that I use is separate. Okay, contract for deed is gonna be less
Their
common.
mortgage is right there.
Right. I don't know, the one that I use, it kind of breaks it down the bottom, but that's fine.
But that's why you go down to here.
Yeah, the
and
explanation
say,
just said
what
that.
is line
The
35?
seller's going to carry a contract for deed. Yeah, so that's just contract for deed. Okay, that's not gonna be very common. I've never done a contract for deed. Okay, does
This
this,
is super, that line by line,
I
what
know.
is each thing,
It's very
super
detailed.
useful. And if you print it out, you've got it there with you. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no reason you can't.
just look this over when you guys have a little bit more time, and again, you can always reach out to me or Jess if you have questions. Okay, did that all make sense? That sheet and why you want to bring that to the listing appointment with you?
Yeah.
Awesome,
That was helpful.
cool. Okay,
And just for a side note, agents who've been around for a while call this Instanet. You might think of it as transaction desk, because that's what it's called in MLS.
Oh, okay.
thank you for pointing that out, because I still say.
It's where you find it is right here on the MLS page.
Yep, so where all your forms are, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so, sorry, we're still on our initial phone call. We haven't even gotten to the house yet for the listing appointment, but we're going over a lot of good stuff, I think. All right, so again, then to round off the phone call with them, you want to set that appointment. Make sure that all the sellers or decision makers will be there. Like if it's a husband and wife, I strongly suggest do not go out there unless they're both going to be there. They need to both be on the same page. They both need to sign everything anyway. And even if it's a married couple, even if only one of them is on the mortgage, title, whatever, they both have to sign because they're married. So in Minnesota, it's to buy, 2 to sell. So just keep that in mind. Even if like the wife bought a home before they were married, the husband has to sign, and they're married now, the husband has to sign when they sell.
What if you're not married?
If you're not married and only one person is on it, only that one person signs.
Okay.
Okay, so you have your appointment set. You are going out there. What you want to bring, we talked about the estimated net sheet. I personally don't print that out. I have that on my laptop ready to show them. Again, I have the 3 price points in mind based off of the research I've done and the information they've given me. When I get to the house, I'll confirm the condition and see if the pricing that I had in my mind still makes sense. If it doesn't, you can change those numbers that you input in there. So that's why I don't print it out, because I'm not for sure if we're gonna go with those price points at that point. You do need them to sign the estimated net sheet, but I send that to them after the appointment and have them sign electronically. That's just how I do it. You can find what works best for you, but I feel like that's worked well in case I change anything while I'm at the appointment. Bring the listing paperwork. So like the 4 documents that we need: the listing contract, affiliated business, agency, and then the other one I'm like drawing a blank. Is this something that you've gone over in PC?
Yep.
Okay.
So we haven't done that portion, yet. I think with these guys, the thing is they do it Melissa does it in boot camp.
Yes.
And
Go to the
then-
boot camps, you guys, if you can. They're
Yep.
super helpful.
So the thing that isn't done in boot camp, which is going to be part of your homework, is making sure that your templates are completed so that when you go to boot camp, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, you're gonna be getting emails on how to do that if you haven't done it yet.
Yep, so Melissa, the boot camps, like she goes over all the paperwork part of it. And it's a lot to take in at first, so I'm really glad we have these boot camps where she goes over them in detail because it's a lot. So if you can go to those, I don't know if there's one tomorrow maybe?
Yes, there's one tomorrow and it is, pretty sure it's.
How should we sellers?
You guys, go to that one,
Perfect
that's
timing.
perfect. Yeah, like,
Right?
oh my gosh, be so perfect. So all the listing paperwork that Melissa goes over in the boot camp, you bring all that. I usually print out, the info sheet about the area from the SPAR website, just to have it for their city. It shows you stats. I don't know if you're bringing it up, Joseph. It shows you stats about their area, so things like how much prices have increased, inventory amount, things like that. So it's just kind of a nice piece of info to have for them. And then the CMA, comparative market analysis. Have you guys gone over CMAs at all?
Nope.
Okay, that's okay. So I don't know if we'll, like how much time we'll have, if we can kind of get into that. But that will be the comps for the house. So just throwing a few things out there, what I use for comps, typically I start with a mile out from the home. Sometimes you can even do half a mile if there's like a ton of homes around that you can use for comps. If there's not that many comps, you might have to go out more than a mile. But usually an appraiser sticks to a mile for comps, so that's why I like to kind of use that as a base point. And then again, you want to pull comps that have similar criteria. So that's why when you talked with the seller initially, you confirmed number of beds, baths, finished square feet, if they've added anything on, done the updates, things like that. And then also homes that have sold. At this point, I like to do 90 days. You can go back 6 months. I mean, I know appraisers still might do that, but I feel like 90 days is going to be the most accurate for pricing right now. So if you can find enough comps within the 90 days. I like to do, it varies with the number of comps that I'll provide, but if there are some that are active, even pending, I do typically add those, but usually an appraiser is going to look at the ones that have actually closed. So like 5-ish closed is usually a good number. I don't know, what do you usually do just for solds? Your comps? I said like 5-ish. It can vary, it just depends on what's available,
Like
really.
the kind of the minimum is 3.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
And back in the day, it used to be, okay, I want 3 actives, 3 pendings, 3 solds.
Yeah.
That's not reality,
Yeah,
right? You won't get any active sometimes. Most times, yeah. And then the problem with pendings and actives is, pendings really, is it doesn't give you any information. You don't know how much it sold for.
Yes, you always want to
So-
say, this is what these ones are listed at, but we will not know what they sell for until they're closed.
Right.
So, but just to kind of show them what's out there, so it just also shows like, what's available at this moment in their neighborhood too. Like, oh, the house down the street just went up, the other day or whatever. I like the 3 minimum that Jess said. Like I said, I usually do like 5-ish. I think any more than that gets to be almost too many for them, because I like to, with my CMA, have all the photos and everything too. And like when you're looking through it, it just gets to be a lot, and they're all gonna blend together to that seller. So I think like max of 5-ish is a good number. So yeah, Jason pulled up some solds here.
A question when you present. So, because Thomas was with me, I call them Bonnie and Clyde. It's Bonnie and Dave, but anyway. How do you present it? Do you use your computer? Do you print it out?
Yes, yep, so I'll get to that in a sec. I'm gonna go through like what I do when I arrive, but that's an awesome question. So yeah, I was just saying kind of what they should prepare to bring with them. So that should be everything that you need. And just note that always appear confident. Like even if you feel super nervous and you're like, oh my gosh, if it's your first listing appointment, just take a deep breath, you'll be fine. Remember, you're the expert. Like you have your license, you took the classes, you know more than, I don't know who was saying that the other day. Like no matter what, you know more than the average.
Sean Rohan.
Okay, yes, I like that a lot.
From Red Wing.
Yep.
And I don't know if everyone is here, so maybe just kind of say what he said.
Yeah, okay, so he was saying, you know, again, you're the expert, you have your license, you know more than the average consumer, even if you don't feel like you know anything yet. Like, I know how it is when you first start out, it's super overwhelming. There's like so many things in every direction going on and you kind of don't know what you're doing. Like, you feel like you don't know what you're doing, but just take a step back and remember that you are the expert. That's why this person is hiring you to sell their home, because you know what you're doing and you're gonna do a great job for them. And you have so many people at this office that can help you. Like, if you need to call me before you go on your listing appointment, I would be totally fine with, you know, answering questions or whatever. Just, of course, will always help too. So just keep that mindset. But when you arrive, be on time, of course. I try not to be like super early though either, like when I'm coming to a listing appointment, because
Might be cleaning.
yeah, exactly. They're still trying to get out there, no. And you can tell them when you talk to them too, like the house does not have to be perfect when you come out that initial time. But anyway, so just be on time, you know, introduce yourself, like be super friendly, make sure you're engaging with both people if it's more than one person. Even if one person is like trying to take over the conversation, I feel like that happens all the time with couples. And it's like, you also need to include that other person too, so they don't feel left out and you build that rapport with both of them. So I like to start out with looking around the home before we go over the paperwork. But I would just ask them, hey, is it okay if we take a look around? You know, do you mind showing me around? And just always kind of like ask that permission. Don't be like, I'm gonna take a look around now. Just, you know, be respectful of their home. And then I always have a notebook with me. Some people might have like a tablet or put notes in their phone. I like literally just write things down. It's just how I've always done it. So take notes on anything that you would want to remember later. Pay attention to the condition. If there are things that you notice that, you know, you feel like they should fix before they list it. Anything that you just would need to remember later, because again, especially if it's like one of your first appointments, you probably will feel overwhelmed. So take notes so you can refer back later.
Hey, Megan.
And then, yeah.
If I'm taking notes, and this is my first time, and I've
Mhm.
got a notebook with me, how would I organize that paper? And what I mean by that is even maybe before I go, would I like write down the rooms and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
that's a
So I
really good
have
idea. Yep. So I usually do that like as I go, but I think that's a great idea where literally ahead of time, you can write down like each room, kitchen, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, you know, master, whatever, and then write notes for each of those, because it does, even like there's been times where I'm at a house and then I'm like, okay, which room was that in again? Like, it is kind of a lot, especially if the sellers are talking a lot and there's a lot going on and whatever. So yeah, organizing by room ahead of time, I think is a good idea.
And I think the other thing too, and how do you put people at ease when you're nervous,
Yeah,
is to look like you have a process.
yes,
And by putting that on the piece of paper,
Yep.
it helps you organize your thoughts to remember to do it.
Mhm.
Because I've done on the other side, if you're doing like an interview with somebody, you say, hey, very nice meeting you today, I'm gonna be doing this interview today, and I'm gonna take some notes, and you never take any notes.
Right.
They're like, the whole time, they're like, I don't know what's going on here, I think that went terrible, or not. I mean, they don't know. But by putting it down on a piece of paper and thinking to yourself, what is it that I'm gonna do with these notes? It kind of helps
Yep.
remind you that you said these words.
There's no way you'll remember everything later, so yes.
It's like that server at the restaurant where you're like, are you sure you don't want to write it down? And then they
I
screw
could
it up
never be a
and you're like,
server.
gosh.
Yeah, great example. Okay, so you're taking your notes, you're going to each room. Make sure to look at the exterior too. I feel like sometimes we forget about that because you just go up to the door, you go in the house, whatever, you get talking. But it is important, like one of my withheld listings, like their siding is really messed up and we only kind of looked at the front of the house. So yeah, look all around. Ask them things about, like, I don't know, for example, there was this big pool, above ground pool in a listing that I had, and the grass was like totally messed up underneath, and just, you know, things that you may not see, but you should know about. Okay,
Okay, so sorry. So for like that instance, like what, like would you state that? Like the grass? Like what? That's not really like
no, I
like-
know.
Like you can't really put the grass is messed up from an above ground pool.
Yeah, it's just one thing that randomly popped in my head. You just wanna know about things like that, like they said the grass won't grow under there, right? Whatever, it is what it is. If the
Right.
stay with the house, like, yes, they should likely mention grass doesn't grow underneath it. Like, if you feel like it is a material fact, they should disclose
Got it. Okay. No, thank
So,
you.
yeah.
That's helpful. Okay.
Okay, so after you have looked around the home, you have all your notes, then I would just say, okay, is it all right if we kind of go over the paperwork that I brought? That would include the comps around your home here. We can talk about what potential prices we could list it at, the range. And then, you know, I have some information about your area. That would be this bar info sheet. And then I wouldn't even say like at that point, okay, can you guys sign with me? Like I wait until we go over the comps and all of that stuff first. So Jess's question was, how do you present it? You know, first, thanks so much for showing me around. This really helps me in determining what we could potentially list your home for. I've brought, you know, these comps here that show what other homes in the area have been selling for. And you want to have the photos. So again, when you get to that point of actually TC or whatever, because I don't think Melissa would go over a CMA and no camp, right? Okay. I don't know, I won't do it today either, but when you get to that point of doing the CMA, there's an option to include photos of the comps, and you want to because then they can actually see like what these other homes look like on the inside, and you'd be like, yeah, yours is not in that good condition, you know? But it's just a visual for them. So when you're presenting that, just be like, I see your home being listed within this range because of these reasons. You know, if you look at this home down the street, the condition is super similar and this is what it sold for. Just kind of back up, you know, why you're suggesting the prices that you are. Again, tell them ultimately it is up to you what we list your home for, but this is what I would recommend, you know, listing it for in this market to get it sold as quickly as possible. So that's typically how I approach showing them the comps. And then that can be followed up with the estimated net sheet. So again, the 3 price points. If when you have been going through the house with them, you find that your price points that you were thinking of are not right because of the condition or whatever, that's why I have the estimated net on my computer and I can change those amounts that I put in there. Does that all make sense to you guys?
Yes.
You'll hear too, like, some people do a 2-step, some people do a 1-step, and what that just means is when you're going to do the listing appointment, are you going to get back to them about what it's worth because you're like,
You need
oh
more
my
time.
God,
Yep.
this is not what I expected.
So yes, I'm really glad you brought that up, Jess. I don't usually do that because I like to do everything at once, but you may have to do that if, like Jess said, the house is not what you were expecting. You feel like you need more time to figure out a price point. And if that's the case, just let them know, okay, I appreciate you showing me around. All this information you've given me is really helpful. You can still show them comps and just be like, I just want to do a little bit more research on my end before we get a good price range for you. So you don't have to tell them that day and you can do your research and get back to them and either come back in person or give them a call. Do you usually for the 2-step go back in person or?
It depends. If you're competing with other agents, do not do 2-step.
Yeah.
You'll lose it.
Yes.
Because other agents will come in and they'll just be
they'll
like, bam, this is it.
Yep.
Right? And you might lose it too because they're cutting their commission. And let them. Like, you're not gonna cut your commission. Like, that's not happening, so.
We don't want you to cut your commission.
Right.
And people will ask you to do that. Like, I feel like the majority of the time they don't ask, but you will get someone who will ask.
You know the surest way to get somebody to ask you to cut your commission? Which of course you don't want, but this is the guaranteed way to get them to ask you. Be tentative when you say what you charge.
Yes, good point.
I charged 3%?
Yep.
Oh, that could be less.
Yep.
I charge
Just be
3%.
super, yep, this is what I charge and that's it.
No question.
And I don't know, a couple examples. I'm just thinking of one seller I had who asked me to cut it and it was a lower price condo, so it already wasn't, you know, a huge commission anyway, but that didn't even matter. He said to me, well, since the margins are really low, do you think you could cut it? I'm thinking, my margins are low too, like,
Right.
I'm not making a lot.
Right.
That's not what I said, but what I said was, I really appreciate you asking that. I understand you want to get the best deal, but I don't lower my commission for anyone. To be fair to all my clients, I just stick with the same rate for everyone. He's like, okay, that was it. We moved on. Never got brought up again.
Yeah, I had a client ask me, I had sold her house. We were looking at the next house that she wanted to buy. And we're standing there and she's like, so, you know, can you, that sounds like a lot. Can you do less? I looked at her and said, no.
Just no.
And then she.
And then just look at them.
Quiet.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
First one to
I
speak
love that.
loses. And
Yeah.
kind of what I do is very much in line with Megan's as well, where my conversation has been, in order to be fair to all of my clients, I keep the same commission level for everyone. I don't offer a reduced service fee.
Yes, I'm a full service agent. I don't reduce my services.
And if I ever do offer that, I would let anyone know that I would cut my services for them for a price.
Yep.
So that I'm saying that, well, that there isn't an option, but you're getting the full package here.
Yep.
And if I was gonna go less, I would just do way less work for you.
Yep. And it's true, you guys, like the agents who cut their commission, they typically offer less on the buy side, and that's not a good thing for your seller. They do cell phone photos, not professional, like they do less work. Yeah. So.
Right. Well, and it's like, sure, do you want to take 1% off your paycheck too? Like,
do you want somebody to ask you to cut?
right, like it's just weird to me, but okay.
It is super true, but I'll be honest with you, don't take that approach in the presentation. I'm not sure.
Well, no, I would never say that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, though. I mean, nobody else. Well, I'll be honest with you. I worked at Verizon for a long time, and plenty of people come in there and ask to pay less for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just a set of people who think that they can get that negotiation is part of the game.
Yep.
And to be fair to them, they don't know until they ask.
Right.
So
That's what I always say, is it's a no until you ask.
Yeah.
So my daughter uses that reversely on me all the time, and I'm like, that's not what I meant. But
Right.
is that you can, like on the way back from St. Peter last night, Tom and Thomas were with me, and one of the things we talked about was, you're free to charge whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
You have to charge 5% in
Minimum.
this brokerage, right? You have to pay out 2.7 in this brokerage. If you're in a different area and they don't charge that there, then you talk with Melissa, right? The thing is that you can come up with a value proposition like HHG and John Hoffmeister do, and you can say, all right, this is what I offer at 6. This is what I offer at 6.5. This is what I offer at 7. And take the cheapest. They don't want to do the most, so they do 6.5. You just got yourself 0.5% by being upfront and saying, this is what I offer, right? The cool thing is with the 7, you, like HHG, they include a pre-listing home inspection. So an inspection before you list, right? And that's just standard, and they pay for it, and then they think, wow, this is amazing, right? And it's all just part of the stuff. So, I want you guys to think about that, like big picture. That is something you can do to build your business to be whatever you want it to be, right?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I haven't done that, but I like the idea. I just haven't put it into play, but definitely something to consider for sure. Okay, so you've gone over the comps, estimated net. For the listing paperwork, so I always have the mindset that they're gonna work with me. If they've told me like straight up, we are interviewing 5 other agents, that could be a different story. But I still am just like, okay, I would love to get to work for you guys now. We can actually get things signed today, and I can start working on things on my end, and you can start getting the home ready. I can help you with some tips on that. That's kind of how I approach like getting them to sign with me that day. You always want them to sign with you that day, like if you can, like, that's the goal. And I just do it like, I have the mindset that they're gonna sign with me anyway, so, and that's what I portray to them. So I have the listing paperwork printed out, I don't send it to them electronically later, I want them to sign right there on the spot. I have everything highlighted where I need them to sign or initial, just because it's kind of easier to go through that way. I don't read every document word for word, but I definitely like over the important things in the listing contract. And again, when we get to the commission part of it, I say, this is the full, or this is the commission that I charge. 3.3 goes to me, 2.7 to the buy side. And to touch on Jess's point that we here at this office only do 2.7 to the buy side, you're gonna see a lot of listings that they offer 2.5 or even less. I feel
That's a one. Voila.
Oh, yeah, nope, I've seen that too, I'm like, why? No, that's not
Jenny?
even.
Down in your area, it is common for them to be lower.
Okay, I was gonna ask that question because I've seen that on some. I've even seen some like 2.3 or like 2.2 on the buy side.
In certain parts of Rochester and Western Minnesota, 2% is super common.
Okay.
And then,
So talk to Melissa for your area, I guess?
well, no,
Okay.
it's super
Yeah,
common.
so if she lists one though, doesn't Melissa need to say that she can offer less than 2.7?
Yeah, I suppose.
Is that right,
Yeah,
Jess?
yeah, like, for Marshall, they have Jana wants to pay out 2.7, and, like, it's a fine line, right? Because like I was saying to Tom and Thomas last night, I went to Faribault, tried to list a house at 6, and nobody lists at 6, they all list
In
at
Faribault?
5. Yep, everybody does 5, and
I've
they
shown
pay out
homes in-
2.5.
Okay.
And so I did not know that, and I lost the listing because of it. And because what is my, like when I was brand new, I was like, well, what is my value add for paying 1% more? I'm like, I don't freaking know, right? So,
She doesn't.
so, and he, it was a referral from a client, and he was straight up, he's like, well, this person can do it for 5, so I want them. And I was like, right?
Learning experience.
Right,
you know?
and when you look at that, that's a market, right? That's not somebody saying cut your commission.
Yes.
Totally different.
Yep.
And would I have wanted a listing at 5% versus listing at 0 because I didn't get it? Absolutely. So had I done that over again, I would have went in and not been like, no, I charge 6. I'd be like, yes, 5%, right? And I would have sold it, right? Like, so you just have to be aware of those things. And yeah, Jenny, so just talk with Melissa when it comes time to listing something. as
Okay.
what that is for you.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good because that's been a question of mine because I've seen that difference. So.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we brought it up. And so the 2.7 though, I mean, so we're a full service brokerage too, like we don't want to discount that buyer's agent either. They deserve, the buyer's agents deserve,
Oh my God.
that and more in this market. And although they shouldn't be steering their clients to whatever homes based on what they're being paid out, it could happen where if their clients deciding between one that's 2.7 or 2% or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that could happen. So we just want to offer the full percentage to them. Okay, so like I said, when you are presenting the listing paperwork, be like ease into it, be casual about it, but be confident that they're gonna work with you. Like have it in your mindset, well, they're gonna sign with me, let's get it done today. And my thing is, again, I always just say I can get, working for you guys on my end right away. We can be in withheld for as long as you need to, I'm on your timeline. But while I'm there too, I also mentioned, I'm not a stager, and I would suggest bringing a stager in for many listings, but I still suggest things like decluttering, depersonalizing, and deep cleaning. I just think those are things that they can get started on right away, but say it in a way that's not offensive. Just be like, people have a lot of stuff in their house, like that's super common, but I always kind of have them look at it through a buyer's eyes. Like if you're a buyer and you're going into a home, you want to envision like your family there, or yourself there, not someone else's family. So that's why they need to depersonalize. Show them the photos from the comps, and hopefully they have decluttered, and just say, see how these photos turn out great because they don't have a lot of stuff in their house, things like that.
Goals to look like a dentist office.
Yes, very sterile and clean. Okay, and then hopefully they have signed with you. But so more on the timeline, like I said, withheld, they can be in withheld for as long as they want. But talk to them about if they want to be potentially in coming soon status, and you don't have to decide that for sure that day, but just mention it's an option. So coming soon, you can do up to 21 days before it goes active. I never do it for that long. I think that's too long, to be honest, but usually I'll do it like a few days before we go active, and that just draws up the buzz. Buyers can start scheduling showings, but they can't be scheduled until they're actually active, but they can start actually scheduling when you're coming soon. Buyers can plan then too. I think it's easier for them. So say you're in coming soon, like Wednesday or Thursday, you go active on Friday. Then they kind of know like when the home's gonna be on the market, and say you go active on Friday or Saturday, then they have to scramble to schedule a showing like that day. I just think that coming soon is a good kind of warning for buyers or whatever.
Megan?
Yes.
One of the things that Tasha mentioned when she has a situation like that, and I think it's a really great idea, especially if you're having this discussion and have the time to do it, is try to convince or help your folks decide to be out of town that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can help them find a way to decide to be out of town, that clears up basically that whole time for people to schedule showings. You can do an open house. And they don't have to keep running in and out and changing the baby or whatever it is, whatever magic has to happen.
Pets or kids, it's so much easier.
So
so like prepare them that showings can be crazy in this market, especially if it's in a super popular area. My last one, my sellers ended up getting a hotel because the showings were out of control. And they weren't coming soon, so they saw how crazy it was getting, and like that's perfect. That'll be way less stressful for you guys. They had kids and a dog, so just got everyone out of the house, and
you don't have to keep cleaning it up every day.
Exactly. Right. You don't have to. Yes, exactly. It's way easier for them. So bring that up for sure. And then things like stager, photographer, measurements. So I know some agents will take measurements from the previous MLS listing. We shouldn't do that. We should have the house professionally measured, or if you're comfortable measuring, I don't want to do it myself, so I hire someone to do it. Totally up to you guys, but you'll still probably see buyer's agent to verify measurements in the notes, but again, it's just a really good practice to have it measured, especially if they've added on square feet or something like that. So measurements can really be done at any time unless they're going to do more work before they list. Things like the stager. So, staging, even in this market, still helps. It still helps sellers to, potentially get more money because of the way the house is presented. Up to you guys if you want to use one. I can't sit up here and say I use one every time. I don't, but it can help a lot in terms of you not being the person telling the seller what they need to do with their house. Sometimes they get offended. And then like that stager is like the buffer. They're the one that told them to do it, but it's going to benefit them in the end. So like I mentioned, I like to talk about decluttering, depersonalizing, and deep cleaning in a nice way, but I kind of just leave it at that at the listing appointment. I don't start going around saying, okay, move this couch over here, take this mess over here, A stager does a great job at doing all of that, and again, it's not like you're the one that has to deliver that news that they could be offended about. So with a stager or staging appointment, I wouldn't do that right away. They need to like do the decluttering and all that to the best extent that they can, I would say. And then when they're ready, the stager will really come out and let them know what they should do to the house to get it ready for photos. So for photos, it kind of depends. You want to for sure give enough time to get them scheduled for one, and then get them back, and then get them posted. If you're going to go in coming soon, I would say at least have one exterior photo. If you could have all of the photos, that's like best. You have to have an exterior photo anyway, I guess. But so For the photos, I would say like as soon as they're ready, but closer to when they go active, if that makes sense. Because typically they're not gonna be ready when you go out to the listing appointment to get those scheduled. Usually you can get them scheduled within, I would say like 3 days max. They should have availability depending on who you use. A lot of them have 24-hour turnaround time where you get it back by like 6 p.m. the next day. And then again, you wanna give yourself time to get them uploaded. So if you're going in coming soon, ideal to have all the photos on there. You'll just want them uploaded, you know, like the day before if possible. Does that help with that timeline?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. And then, just a couple other things. So the TISH report, we talked about the city inspection. You can have that done really anytime if that's needed. I think they're good for a year. So like even if they're not listing for a couple months, like if there are items that need to be corrected, it might maybe better to do those sooner than later if they're willing to correct them. Sometimes sellers are saying to buyers to take on those. Well, I think it's better if the seller can just do it. The sign installation, that's another thing you'll want to leave time for. So like my last listing, since everything happened so quickly, the sign was installed after they were under contract, but you hopefully, you know, don't want that to happen. I use Continental posts. I think they're great. They're like $40 and they're the big white post if you have like a townhome or a different home that you're using, like the step-in that you put in yourself. But for Continental, I think it's like 3-ish days in advance, they say, like it takes them, 3 days. So just give time for that. And then you want to put the lockbox on the door. I use Supra. Usually I have some combo locks too, but just make sure that's on there. Things like removing your shoes, flyers that you'll put inside the house. And then another thing to talk to the sellers about is the open house. So some sellers don't want open houses. I don't usually run into that. I think I always do it with every listing if I can. And you can even do more than one. You can even do 3, like a Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday. If you don't want to do them all, you could have someone from the office do one of them. But I would say at least try to do one for sure. And that's another thing, if the sellers are gonna be like gone for the weekend, just fit the open house in during that time. And then, let's see. Okay, any questions about any of that stuff? How much time do we have? 7 minutes. Any questions on anything we've talked about so far? Okay, so, after you are active, and you start getting offers in, that's kind of what I thought I'd jump to next. So I have a spreadsheet for my offers, so I can summarize all of them for my sellers because it's very overwhelming if you start to get a lot of offers for you and them. So I honestly have my spreadsheet and I start entering each offer in as I get them. My last listing had 25 offers, so like there's no way my sellers could have gone through all that paperwork. Yeah, like, and I actually, our deadline for offers was on Sunday at 5 p.m. I shared the spreadsheet with them earlier that day so they could start to look at the offers that have already come in. And then by the time we connected, like after I received the last offer, they had already looked at the majority of them. So I highly recommend having that. I can always send you mine if you need one. Just a couple other tips. When you're active, like answer your phone if other agents are calling you. That can be overwhelming too. You might be getting a ton of calls, texts, emails, but just try to respond to everyone like timely. You never know if that's going to be the agent that you're going to end up working with. So you just want to have that respect and answer their questions. In terms of like deadlines in this market, it's super common to have a house go active on Friday, maybe Saturday morning and have the deadline like Sunday or Monday morning. As soon as you decide when the deadline is going to be, have it posted on the MLS so everyone knows that. and also send out a notification in showing time about the deadline. And these are all things like, again, if you guys need help on how to do them, I'm happy to help, but I'm sure Jess could also go over it at some point too. But just so everyone knows when the deadline is, but like in this market, I'm pretty sure most agents expect that. If it's a popular house, it's gonna be just a couple days before the deadline is. And usually it's like you get 2 offers, okay, multiple offers received, deadline is whatever day. You don't wanna keep people waiting forever. So it's not like you wanna have a deadline of Wednesday if the house went active on Friday, you have multiple offers already on Friday. So again, like usually Sunday night or Monday morning is good. A couple other like random things, make sure you go over with the sellers what items are included and excluded from the sale. So the first page of the purchase agreement has all the standard items that would be included. And if there's anything else that they want either included or excluded, make sure you decide on that ahead of time and put it in the agent notes on the MLS. So like if they have a deep freezer in the garage, make sure that's excluded or included if they want to leave it there. Things like a Nest thermostat or a Ring doorbell, just make sure that's decided on ahead of time. And then HOA, with homes that have an HOA, in this market, I think it's beneficial to have the HOA docs ordered like as soon as you can almost, unless they're months out from listing. But so if there's an HOA, the buyer has 10 days to review those documents, but that's from the day they receive them. So if you accept an offer, say on a Monday, the seller hasn't ordered those docs from the HOA yet, sometimes it can take like up to a week to get them, and then you're just losing more time within the transaction. So if they're ordered ahead of time and you can just provide them right away, that's less days on the market for you.
Wait, that's good to know because I put an offer on an investment property a long time ago, and it was like they had HOA docs, but like the agent was like, "Oh, yeah, I have to get them from," like he didn't have them, and it took a long time to get.
They do.
And it was like he like never, I don't know, he was like taken aback by the question or something. I was like, well, I have to review them because I was gonna rent it, so I needed to see their rental.
The rental, restrictions.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, but that's good to know.
Yeah, I think before the market got so crazy, we didn't have the sellers order them right away because it's like if they didn't get an offer, then they paid for these docs that they're not, but
Right.
typically you're gonna get an offer, so the seller does pay for it. It's usually, I don't know, $300-ish.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so one of the things that you wanna let your client know is that a lot of companies charge more if you want them sooner. So
Yeah, for the
I
rush.
had $300 for the ones that we needed, and it was X amount of days. Well, our contract closes in 2 weeks. So we have to get them as soon as possible. It was $470.
Yeah.
It's another $170. So the thing is, and I thought about it. I was like, well, maybe we should wait. And then the client's like, yeah, let's just wait. And I was like, dang, I could have saved them $170 had we just ordered them a week before, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like 90 days. Well, we're not gonna not sell in 90 days, right? So, and then the other thing is that you can then put them on the MLS and you have them.
Yes.
So the day they put that offer in is the 10 days starting.
Yep.
And so then, 2 weeks, we're totally fine. But instead, I'm rushing around, getting this, getting that. Don't miss the email when they send it to you, because now you gotta get it out to them, right? So I would highly suggest that in this market. If it's not this kind of market, then it's totally up to your client.
Right.
But just be aware of those things.
Super popular listing, just get it done.
Because literally, they're just pushing a button.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything that takes any time. And so the fact that they get an extra $170 because we went from getting it in 2 days to 3, or 5 to 7, right? Like, yes, that's all we're at.
For sure. Oh, and to note on that, the buyer can shorten that 10 days to 3 if they want. There's a form for them
Yeah.
to sign if they choose. They can even do like 5 days if they want, like they can just waive the rest of the days, but 3 is the minimum. So just know that. Okay, we have, oh my God, it's time. I forgot one very important thing, listing packet. I don't know how I skipped over that. So the listing pack, or the pre-listing packet actually is what I call mine. I email that when I talk to the sellers with that initial phone call. I email it then. And I sometimes I bring a hard copy with me, sometimes I don't. I feel like giving them so much paper, sometimes they don't want that. I found the electronic version works okay for me, but I do go over that. So that includes things like your marketing plan, the whole process of selling, all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure Jess will go over that with you guys more to create that, or I can show you mine too.
I sent everybody a dummy, like just a stripped down, most stripped down version, just a couple, when we started. That's available in designs. It has nothing personalized for you.
Yeah, you can
It
design it
is
how you want.
so easy to actually pull the one that's in there and customize it to you, add stuff, and then save it as a template. And then the only things you change are their houses that you want to highlight in that thing.
Mhm.
It is definitely the way to go, but that's a great, especially the one that I sent you is a nice one to use while you're practicing. And again, figure out stuff you don't want to do. I mean, I think all of us have done that practice run so far, maybe outside of Emily, but you know, you do that practice run and go, this page just doesn't work for me, and throw it out.
Yeah.
Cut it out of your template. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Everything you put in there is a reflection of you. So if it doesn't reflect you, take it out. Put things in there that do.
Yeah, and when you email it to them, you know, after you have that initial conversation, I feel like at that point, okay, you're providing them information, there's you starting to add value. Some people like mail it through the mail. I've never done that. I don't know. I find what works best for you. I feel like emailing it, people nowadays are fine with that.
Yep.
And we, again,
Especially if you tell them to accept it.
Yep. And at the listing appointment, I do highlight it. I ask them if they've had questions on it. But we're already going over a lot, so I find that I don't go over that in like extensive detail. But again, it's there for them to see. And you do want to talk about how you market their home too. You know, via the open houses, social media, reverse prospecting, all those types of things, so. Okay, we're at time. What questions do you guys have about anything we talked about? I hope it was helpful.
Oh, very helpful. I have a
Yeah,
question. Oh, no. I have a question about if there's not a lot of properties to pull in the area for comps, especially kind of down where I am, and some of them, it seems like even if you're trying to do a wider area or you're going out, you know, more than just the 90 days, how do you adjust those for the market if you're still only at like kind of 3 good comps, but maybe they're a little bit older than what you want?
Yeah. Going back a year is okay if you have to. That is like the absolute max I would do. I would do 6 months prefer, but if you have to go back a year, if there's like nothing, like there have been homes that have been kind of in the middle of nowhere where I have to go back a year and go out like 5 miles. There was one the other day that I was a potential listing I was looking at, and I was like, I might have to go out like 10 miles for this one. So if you have to get something, I mean, that's what you have to do.
The other thing I would say, Jenny, is keep in mind that this, especially in those cases, it's way more art than science.
Yes, pricing is
And
a little bit science, a little bit
get a
art.
friend. Seriously,
For
and
sure.
like when Eli did his first listing, he must have asked 12 of us what he should price it at.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And that's cool.
And you'll probably get 12 different.
You probably do get 12
It's
different
just
opinions, but it's like 12 different comps. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know, and it shows that you're invested in their thing. You know, I've talked to other people in the building, and this is what they think, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times they're gonna want a number, and you know, you're gonna provide them one that really has some input from professionals.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing a practice listing with my parents' best friends, and I also know that they have a plan to sell in the next couple years. So I want to make sure it's really good. So, and that's my biggest question is pricing. So if I shoot, you know, you guys over some kind of what I have for the comps and their property.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know, Jenny, the other tough thing you're gonna find where you're at too is, I mean, you get into pricing lots that are larger oftentimes than city lots. And then that, you get all kinds of whack involved in that because of quality of the land and stuff like that. I mean, that's where you really enter into that art area.
Okay.
More acreage usually means you're going out further, you're going back further, all that kind of stuff, so. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thomas or Em, any last questions before I turn it over to Dee?
I
No,
don't,
you were great.
yeah,
Thank
I
you
don't
so
think
much.
any questions.
Oh, you're welcome. I feel like
Thank
I
you,
went over,
Megan.
yeah, I think
You
I went
did
over
so
it quick,
good.
but, oh, thanks.
You're gonna be a regular here if you are okay with that, because your teaching style's amazing.
Oh, really?
Yes,
You guys, this is my first class, I don't remember.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I've
Well,
been
thanks.
texting people, I'm like, you guys have to watch the recording.
Oh,
No pressure on Dean now,
I'm
because
nervous.
this is his first one too.
Dean's really good, and he's funny, Dean's funnier than me, so you guys are gonna like it.
That's a lot of pressure.
All right, guys, I'm gonna give you a like 5-minute break so you
Yeah,
can go
take
run
a
to the
break.
bathroom. And then he wants to know if you can help him hook up his computer to see, or if he should just log on Zoom. And I told
What's he
him,
doing?
Well, I
You
just
can help
like
that.
had,
yeah, no, that.
I just had thrown like 3 slides into a thing on Google Slides, and I also had a couple of myself.
Yeah, yours is easy. Oh, if I could stand up straight, that is.
So how should I get this to you, or should I just hook you up?
I'm gonna hook you right up here.
Probably hook me up,
I didn't even end up hooking mine up.
but are they gonna be able to, okay, so I'll come up there. Come on. Are you planning to, and just kind of?
All I was gonna say, Dean, is that Steve Frall has mastered this, I'm certain.
Nice.
Yeah, that is punching way above my weight class.
If Steve Rawl can do this, literally anybody can do this.
You totally can.
Hopefully Steve's not watching. So then, how do you suggest that we?
All I wanna do is put this into your report there on the side.
How do people on Zoom see this?
Huh?
People on Zoom see this?
See it right there?
Oh, but I thought you were the one sharing your screen.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
And then open my screen?
It'll show what's, you'll be broadcasting on there. If you log into Zoom, you can share it directly.
Oh, but, okay. But they'll still be able to
So
see.
you want that there,
Think they'll be able to see?
because
okay?
you'll be able to see.
It's fine.
I would log into Zoom, because it will be
Okay,
easier.
well then, let's do that. What's
kwpr-dashboard.com.
our
Dash, and then the word dashboard. I know, I did not set this up.
That's confusing.
.com?
.com, yeah. All right, just let that thing swing all the way down to the bottom of the page. Go ahead and spin that wheel, spin it, man, spin it.
Spin it, all the way to the bottom.
All right, just a little bit higher than this now. And you are in PC group coaching.
Got it?
Yeah, go ahead, open
Launch.
meeting. Yay. Open Zoom meeting.
Hey, there we are.
I do not want to join the computer line.
Okay.
It'll cause that burr, 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 burr,
Yep.
so just close that window.
Got it.
Yes, I do want to continue without running.
Continue.
Got it.
Got it. And then if I want to share my screen.
Button right there.
Got it. Okay. It doesn't.
But no, you want to, whatever your pro in Google is over here, share.
So yeah.
And then share. And now it's.
There we go. Look at that.
Or page you want.
I think I just, I had like 3 slides. There wasn't much. It was like pretty conversational. I think based on what Jess said, I think we're gonna talk more about offers. So yeah, let's just talk about that.
Blammo.
A couple more minutes to gather themselves.
I know, when just like, there's no, outline or anything, just talk about your experience, I'm like, oh,
All right.
whatever.
The one thing
I spend my life winging it. Why not?
I know, like,
Why-
I'm
yeah, why
so
would
gonna
anything change
wing
now? So
I actually did follow my notes pretty closely. I'm like, I don't know if I will, but it worked out somehow. I didn't know with timing how it would go, but somehow it worked out. I don't know.
I'm feeling since this is negotiating contracts. No, not really.
I didn't have any.
Mine says click to add subtitles, clearly.
Actually,
quickly
if
add
you
something.
right now click on subtitle or slideshow,
I can just click this, I suppose.
right here, slideshow,
There we go.
it won't have that anymore. And then you down arrow to advance.
And side arrow.
You could too.
Hey, look at that. My wife is a high school teacher, so.
Oh, I forgot.
She's like, put a video in there. Because my kids love videos.
You're like,
Okay.
Not wrong.
What school does she teach at again? Okay.
No, what?
I feel like I was
You were
looking up
looking at
here,
them.
but that doesn't.
The camera
view
is,
like the back of my head then. I guess I could have been looking up here, right?
but it's tough because this thing is shining
I
at you all
know,
the time.
because I looked
so
there for a second, I was like, oh, blind.
you
I'm
never
just
know.
gonna look at you the whole time. You just, you're inspirational.
Yeah,
Not
so
bad,
it was
not
like
bad
this.
theory.
I feel like I was like this the whole time.
You do a lot.
Is that, well, I don't know, people normally.
If you want, like material, to conversational
Yeah.
style, all that great,
Yeah.
yes. If you wanted to change that, you would
But I
change
guess if
that.
there were more people, I'd be like more.
Yes,
But it was just you and Jess over here
right.
too.
So it
Yeah.
also changes the dynamic.
Yeah,
It's really weird teaching a Zoom class
I
when there's
know.
no one present.
It is weird.
Yeah.
So if I want to do what she did, I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
Then I have to stop sharing my screen, right? Because otherwise they can't see.
What they're gonna see is the same thing that you have right now, but yes, you would ideally want to stop doing it, because what, they probably have one of these open too.
Stop share.
Yep.
Got it. And then.
Depending on how their screen is set up.
Yep.
The honest truth is, unless you use the darkest marker possible and
They
write
can't see it anyway.
huge,
oh.
it
It was more like for me to reference back to,
Right.
because I asked them, what do you guys want to talk about?
take a look at that. Can you see that? I mean, you can't see
You
that
can't
at
at all,
all.
no.
It's just, yeah, I mean,
No, great. No,
what
my,
you
now my
write
list says cool
here-
on it, and I appreciate that.
it's
But
moving.
honestly, it helped
No.
me reference back to what they wanted to learn
That's,
about.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, so that's fine.
I would call that a parking lot, and if somebody asks a question that you aren't ready to answer, throw that up there. That's kind of how she did. What questions you guys want to make sure we cover? Do that all up there, kind of thing. But they're not going to be able to read almost anything you write in there unless you write it in the most large blocks possible.
That makes sense. 2 more minutes.
So anyway, Megan, that was fantastic.
2 more
Great job.
minutes.
Thank you. I was like, I didn't know how to be able to get to everything, but I remember re-listening back and I was like, how did I skip over that? But yeah, it worked out fine. Maybe next time we'll have more.
Black folks. It's a Friday, it's spring break.
I said Friday, day after St. Patty's.
Everyone's bleary eyed.
Yeah.
I know.
At
Should
least
tell
we
a-
have the feeling.
Yeah, I should tell a St. Patrick's Day joke or something.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Something. Go into my well of Irish jokes. I don't know.
Why is dark spelled with a K?
Sounds more like philosophy than the joke.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a St. Patrick's Day
Oh,
joke, but I mean, why is dark spelled
Why
with
is
a
dark
K?
spelled with a K?
Because you can't see in the dark.
That's just horrifying. Terrible joke.
Well, no,
No,
I have to go to the restroom after that.
that's unacceptable.
Huh.
So, now he's 18, he's actually graduating this year, but when my son was, let's see, he must have been in 1st grade, he was telling jokes to our high school principal, or elementary school principal. He was up on the roof, sleeping on the roof for a book drive, and he was bored, and said, hey, Alex, tell me some jokes. And so Alex was that was his jam when he was a little kid, telling jokes. So he started telling the teacher jokes, and he thought it was or the principal jokes, he thought it was so hilarious that he said, hey, well, come to my office on Friday, and I'll have you tell some jokes on the intercom. And so he comes in Friday, 1st grader, and during morning announcements, he tells 3 jokes, and because the kids thought it was hilarious, the teachers thought it was hilarious, so we invited him back every Friday. And this went on until 5th grade.
Nice.
So then it just kind of became a thing, kind of took on a life of its own. And of course, you know, how is a kid that age going to be finding regular material that's both, you know, not over the head of elementary age school kids, but also clean?
Yes. That was, when you first said that, that's the theory I thought. I'm like, oh my.
So he and I would spend every Friday morning over breakfast coming up with 3 jokes for him. And it was actually became a really fun thing for us, you know, but so this went on and on and on. And eventually we get a call from Jana Shortall at Care 11, and she said, I heard about your joke thing, and we're going to come down and we're going to do a little, you know, segment on him
How cool was that?
on Alex telling jokes. And so yeah, this last day of 5th grade, they did a little story on him. It was really fun. So but anyway, the point is, yeah, I have an endless well of dad jokes. So
Why did the pirate go to the movie? It was rated R.
it was very R.
Why did it only cost him $2 to get in? They charged him $1 an ear. Why is it so addicting to be a pirate?
I don't know why.
Once you lose a hand, you're hooked.
This is good stuff.
And
This is-
finally,
where were
and I
you?
feel really comfortable you're gonna get this.
Where were you?
I feel really comfortable you're gonna get this, because you're in the spirit, you got the pirate jokes going.
Yep.
What's a pirate's favorite letter?
What's up?
Pirate's favorite letter?
I think it's something like it's the sea that he loves or something like that.
Normally, people always will respond
Yep.
R. And that's when you
Yep.
respond, you'd think so, but actually they love this.
Yep. All right, I think we'll get started. Everybody's ready?
Dean, we got a dean in here.
Yeah, I was gonna tell a joke, but now you just like, you rattled off a bunch of, I was gonna tell like a, St. Patty's Day joke, since everybody's probably hungover, sucking on their coffee tumbler and they all,
No, that's just Jenny.
this is Jenny.
That's just Jenny sucking on the coffee tumbler.
Jenny, did you go out for St. Patty's Day last night? No?
No, she went to Amber Seaver's office.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was at the opening yesterday.
Nice.
Thomas was down there. A lot of people down there. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Let's see, Irish jokes. What do you call, oh, I got one. What do you call a bulletproof Irishman? Rick O'Shea.
I know, yes. Rick O'Shea.
Rick O'Shea. Thank you, I'd be here all week, so.
Thank
All right.
goodness it's Friday.
Um,
If you're gonna
So
be-
I'll do what Megan did. If anybody wants to chime in on anything specifically you want to cover, unmute yourself and speak now or forever hold your peace. Is anybody, we are covering contract negotiations. So I think what, you know, kind of given the fact that a lot of you are going to be working primarily with buyers kind of at this juncture, and that is probably easily the biggest challenge right now, I guess everybody's facing, is being offers accepted. I think we'll kind of stay in that lane right there. So yeah, if anybody wants to chime in on anything specifically they want to cover outside of just, you know, working, you know, negotiating contracts specifically more as a buyer's agent, let me know. Can you unmute yourself or give me a cue card or anybody? And if not, I can. Jeannie, are you writing something right now or no?
Yeah, I guess I don't have any specifics. It's all negotiations would be pretty new to me. So
Okay, we can kind of speak more generalities then about that. So,
Thank you.
let's see here. My wife is a high school teacher. My wife is on my team, but she's still a teacher. And of course, she's like, you need to put together a couple Google slides. I'm like, well, all right. So she's wanted me to include a video that would be relevant to this. So this is what she came up with this morning. Let's see here. I want to slideshow, and I'll share my screen. Oops, I can't share my screen. Share screen. There we are. Share. Come on. View, come on. All right, everybody see that? So this is a little icebreaker on contract negotiation from a movie I love.
I thought you'd be excited to have an acting job.
If it's an acting job, we should get paid.
Yeah, you're gonna get paid in experience.
I want to actually get paid.
All right, what do you want?
$600 for the day, plus overtime if we go over 8 hours. I'll do my own hair and makeup, and I want you to pay for the 6-week intensive acting camp that my mom can't afford.
$50 for the day and a 2-week acting class at the YMCA nearest you.
$500 and a 4-week acting class.
$300 and a 3-week class.
Done.
I would have done it for $500.
I would have done it for the experience.
Brilliant. No, I'm not sure who would be the buyer and who would be the seller in that situation, but wish it was as balanced as that right now. But yeah, I would guess. Oh, I guess for the couple of you that don't even know who I am, I'm Dean Fjeld. I've been in the office here for 3 years, I would say, Keller Williams family. My wife, as I just mentioned, is a high school teacher. She teaches at Farmington High School. She's been a teacher for 18 years, give or take now. And we're just kind of in the process of transitioning her out of teaching. A little bit of an adventure. She probably has about 18 months left of that or so. But I'm very much looking forward to having her working full time. Just discovered at our team meeting, whoever was at our team meeting the other day, that we now have, through a partnership with Capstone, an opportunity for reasonable health benefits, and nothing got me more excited at the team meeting the other day than
KW Perks.
the perks. The
KW
KW perks. And I ran a quote for our family on that health insurance thing. This has nothing to do with contract negotiation, but it's relevant nonetheless.
How was it?
It came back like really good. Like, I'm now pumped. So trying to get Shannon out of teaching, that has been the biggest impediment for us.
That has been the reason, right? Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons, yeah. We keep saying that we can easily replace her income, but replacing her benefits is no joke. So,
But also, how much does she pay? Because my husband's a teacher in St. Paul Public Schools. He pays $33,000 a year for health insurance.
in premiums on his paychecks,
Yes. $33,000 comes out of his paycheck.
every district is different. I think her monthly premiums coming out of her teacher paycheck, about $250 a check, so $500, give or take. And the quote that we got back for our family of 5 was $1,563 a month. So, really you have to take $500 out of that, because that's what we're already paying in premium, and that's the same deductible that we're currently using now and everything. So, and so really, I mean, we're only talking about an extra. Granted, there's some other things that you're going to be missing, that are perks as a teacher, but generally speaking, yeah, for a little over $1,000 a month above and beyond what we're paying now, we should be able to be covered. Plus, I have a 20-year-old who is going to be doing his own thing pretty soon. So, but anyway, yeah. So Shannon and I've been here at the KW family here for about 3 years. I've been doing real estate since 1998. So I've been in this industry. I like to say I've been. Not that I've been in this business a long time, I've been in this industry a long time, because I've done a hodgepodge of things. I got started as more of a traditional real estate agent. A couple of years in, I ended up getting my broker's license, actually, and because we started a property management company with my uncle, and we needed to be a broker. So I think this is still true, but once you've been a real estate agent for 2 years, you're eligible to get your broker's license. I think that's still true.
Did you say 2?
Used to be 2. Anyway.
2 or 3, yeah.
So I did that, and then was in property management for like 3 years, and then I had an opportunity to partner with a gentleman, a local investor who was very established, and that was when maybe some of you remember the We Buy Ugly Houses billboards all over creation with the little caveman. That was kind of 2003 was when home investors started opening franchises in the Twin Cities, and so he and I partnered and we opened a franchise down in South Minneapolis, and we did that for 5 years, and that was the most. That was truly an adventure. Stuff I got to see in that 5-year period was hilarious and horrifying, and every day was something new, and it was all over the metro too. So, a lot of us in our real estate careers, we usually try and find our geographical lane and stay there. Farming around, where you are familiar with and comfortable with and near your home is obviously an ideal strategy. But through that experience, we had no regions either. I was in Wright County, I was in Goodhue County, I was just all over the map. So actually I got a lot of familiarity with the whole metro area, and that was priceless experience there. Did that for a while. We were up for renewal in 08, and I think we all know what happened in 08. They wanted us to buy like a minimum of 36 houses that year minimum. It was a franchise requirement in 2008. Who the heck wanted to do that at the time? Things were kind of imploding, so we didn't renew our franchise at the time. We got out of it clean. We had mostly everything sold, a few rentals. A lot of other people in the industry didn't fare as well at the time. And then I actually, at the behest of my brother-in-law, he told me, hey, jump into mortgage for a while. There's going to be refis everywhere. Real estate's dead. So I followed his advice, got into a mortgage, and that has been extremely valuable to me. I did that for about 5 years. That paid the bills for 5 years. But the whole time I was thinking, when do I get to get back into the real estate party? That's where my love is. And I became quasi real estate expert, a mortgage expert, and that has served me very well as a real estate agent. I can speak the language, the lending language. I can help give reasonably sound advice on the financing front. Help buyers decipher between multiple mortgage quotes and think of outside the box solutions for people, and that's been very helpful. So I encourage every one of you not to underestimate I guess educating yourself, even at the 10,000 foot level, really educating yourself, having a sound understanding of financing programs. It's really understanding the impact. If there is an opportunity for you to take continuing education courses, when you're up for trying to scramble and get your credits at the last minute like I always do, I encourage you to find anything lending related, because it will help you dramatically with your buyers and yourselves as well. So anyway, yeah, so did that, got bumped back into real estate full time probably in 2017. I think it was 16 or 17, late 16 or 17. And my wife got licensed in 2019, and yeah, just we're with all of that experience, just kind of building our business, the way we like it and the way we, kind of work to our strengths, which is extremely important. And so now we have the two of us. We have a team, or really a team of 3 here, and we're having fun. It's been a wild ride these last couple of years. Talking about negotiating contracts, kind of in the context of where I guess everybody on this call is. I'm sure the general consensus is, how am I helping my buyers win in negotiations right now? And I have one slide
Back is the Breakfast Champions, and we got
just with kind of some bullet points on that, and we can actually kind of use that as our guide and have a very, conversational type of presentation just on that list alone. Let me see if I can share my screen again. Find Whitney again. Let's see that okay, I hope. Here, I'll start a slide show so it's bigger. Drag that off, sort of. There we go. So this is just kind of, actually, the HHG team here has a thing that they have, for their clients that, I'm sorry, for their agents on their team. This is kind of a hodgepodge of stuff I had, strategies I had, things off of their list. So I just kind of like hodgepodge it all together. But we can kind of go through it. Kind of on any given weekend. It's kind of an interesting time right now. I think we're seeing more contracts right now than we ever have before, which is kind of weird because like there's less listings than there have been, and there's less listings to offer on. But as a listing agent, I've never seen so many purchase agreements in my entire career as I am right now, because on any given, like last weekend, for example, I think our listing, we had 9 offers on that one. And the only reason we only had 9 offers is because the house has some problems, and going through all those, it's, I can actually share sort of the spreadsheet organizer we use as we're going through offers. But you're kind of seeing what people are doing right, what people are doing wrong, ways that you're helping your clients, and ways that you're definitely not helping your clients. Kind of going through what I have up on this list here. I guess the number one thing by far that will serve you well, even if you don't do anything else, is communicate. Communicate. It's so imperative. As a listing agent, for example, if you're writing an offer for your client, you can't be in front of them enough. How you're presenting yourself and how you're presenting your client and standing out is really the most imperative part of the whole thing, really. You're building credibility, you're building rapport, all that's happening kind of at once. Sometimes it's overt, sometimes it's more subtle, really. We have, like, I'll look back last weekend, for example, we had 9 offers on this house. I'll just kind of use that as sort of my case study. We had 2 offers out of those 9 where I didn't receive a call or a text from the buyer's agent. I randomly got an email that just said offer for in the address. One of them had no body in the email whatsoever. They didn't literally type anything. They just had the link. They just had the link to the offer. Nothing else. No summary. No, hey, how are you? So I mean, obviously, right out of the gates, it's like, okay, then. Not to mention the fact that when I don't have anything even to work with, and we're have a lot of plates spinning with a lot of offers and a lot of activity on the listing, now I've got to take the time to open up that offer and really like pour through it, which we do anyway, right? But I'm just saying, right out of the gates, when you're just trying to like decipher what's what, I've got to pour through that offer with a fine-tooth comb and find the terms, extract them out, create my own summary for that offer. It's not a good start. Not a good start, and plus I don't know anything about this agent, who they are. Are they a good agent? Are they potentially not a good agent? It's just very little to work with. I've got a pre-approval letter that they sent with it, but I don't really know anything about their situation financially, other than just kind of what I can decipher about that. I had another offer where they took it one step further. It was the same thing. Offer for, no call, no text, just an email, and then it just said, attached as an offer from my clients, call me with questions. Okay, so it just makes everything harder for the listing agent, and it's not setting the tone you're probably looking for. You really want to, agent to agent, really want to meet each other on the same level, and you're basically proposing getting into a very important, high level, sometimes long-term working relationship with this agent. And you really want to know that you're in it with somebody who is organized, is good at what they do, and kind of has all their ducks in a row. So I think when you have certain buyers, the communication thing is especially important when your buyer isn't maybe on paper looking very strong. That's where you really have an opportunity to step up on their behalf and work, kind of just articulate all the good things they are bringing to the table. I think I have number 3 there. Let the listing agent know if the client is lost in multiples a certain number of times. Clients are more likely to stick. Basically what that's saying is, hey, let's work the empathy a little bit. These folks, this isn't the first rodeo. This is like the 5th house that they're offering on. They've kind of, typically those buyers have fine-tuned their process, their strategy to the point now where they're not messing around anymore. And they're now, at that point, they're probably following their agent's advice a little bit better as far as what it's going to take to make the offer stick and take it to fruition. So building rapport is a really important strategy. I think what I've been seeing lately, which I think is genius, is I've had a couple agents submit offers, and maybe there's a deadline at the end of the weekend potentially, but they'll submit an offer. One other thing too is don't sit on your offer too long. There's no point in being the last one in. That doesn't do you any favors strategically. If your buyer falls in love on Friday and you have the time to sit down and put together a well thought out, strong offer on Friday, submit it on Friday. There's no disadvantage to that whatsoever. So, but what I'm seeing is some people that are already submitted offers, they're coming to the open houses with the agent just to get some face time with the listing agent, which I think is brilliant. Now, keep in mind, look at the open house directory, see who's actually sitting in the open house, because a lot of times the listing agent isn't the one at the open house. It could easily be one of you. I think Tom's on this call? Yeah. Yep. So I think he did that Badness Heights one, if I'm not mistaken. Last Friday, which I heard was kind of a gong show, but yeah. Good for you. And it's been a gong show since, by the way. But yeah, you can take that opportunity to build some rapport and glad handing with the listing agent if they are there. Another good reason to go to the open house, even if you've already offered on the home, is you can actually use the open house, and I'm not sure how I quite feel about this. You got to keep it. You can't go too deep on this, but you can actually, if you want to lighten your contingencies on the inspection, or potentially want to waive an inspection altogether, actually go to an open house, spend an hour there with yourself if you're handy or someone you trust, or you could even bring an inspector with you. Use the open house to look through it. Use the open house as a second showing if need be. Sometimes we have to. With COVID, there's been I would say almost the majority of listings during COVID didn't offer overlapping showings, so you kind of had to, if you didn't book it up quick, you were on the outside looking in. So a lot of people are using open houses as a means to get into the house for the first or second time. So, but just something to think about on the open house thing. That wasn't quite where I was, but I'm just riffing a little bit here. So, I guess contacting the listing agent and just asking them what they need. What I've heard that multiple times. Is there anything specific that I need to know to rate the best offer possible? I did put in there on on this one here, they can't even see me, I'm sharing my screen. On number 4 there, ask what they need and carefully review remarks and supplements before asking questions. That's kind of an important thing to remember too. A lot of good listing agents will put in agent remarks, very important things to know. In fact, that's usually where the most important things go, things that you're going to see first. Anything about either their process or any specific needs that the sellers have, or nothing drives me more crazy when an agent calls me up and says, so is there a deadline yet? I'm like, well, yeah, in the agent remarks, it says highest and best offers due 10 a.m. Monday. It's right there. Read supplements too. Open up the supplements and, definitely you should be absolutely reading the seller's disclosure statement before you write any offer for any client, obviously, but look for other supplements too. Sometimes there will be offer submission instructions, depending on who the seller is, the listing agent is, or the listing broker is, especially on Zillow Homes and Open Door. They have very, very specific processes for offer submission. Now, granted, in those situations, there's not a lot of interpersonal negotiation going on. You're usually just kind of like thrown into a hat with a bunch of other people and hoping for a response. But read the supplements, because it increases your credibility if you are not asking stupid questions. The number one question just about every buyer's agent asks me is, what's the seller's dream closing date? And I like to phrase it that way when I'm on the other end of it too. What's their dream closing date? And out of that, you can get a whole bunch of information about, kind of what's going on, what are the dynamics on the move, what their plan is. I think listing agents, a lot of them love to talk. I think just, real estate agents in general love to talk. That's kind of for many of us, is how we end up doing what we do. We're good, open, free-flowing communicators. So, get them talking, build some rapport, get them talking, ask what it's going to take to structure the thing in a way that makes their sellers very, very happy. The closing date obviously is the first one. That's the easiest one. That's the one that is usually the X factor that can be moved around. Oftentimes other terms, your buyers can do what they can financially, but the closing date is very, very flexible. Offer summary sheet is next thing on there. I guess even more important than an offer summary sheet, I would say, do the offer summary sheet too. If you haven't found it yet, it is in Instant Forms in the KWPR folder. There are other ones in there too that I think you could probably find that are more generic ones, but KWPR does have one. If I have, let me take a look here, see if I can find one. Hey, look at that offer summary sheet. It looks kind of like this. Why is it not showing up there?
Will your mouse move on that screen there? Or no, just on your laptop?
Yep, that's on my screen, but it's not showing up there. I'm not exactly sure why. But it could be.
Is it the one that's tan at the top?
Let me try. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. I wonder if I could. Tell you what I'll do. I'll just see if this works.
Yeah, that offer summary sheet, there's a couple of things that I would like to get updated. The issue is that WolfNet, which is who runs our MLS, they take like 30 days to upload a document, which is not an excuse. It is, whenever I think of it, I'm like, oh, Jesus, 30 days, right? Because there's a couple of items on there that people get confused by, and it also doesn't have title on it. At the very bottom it has, lender. And so I want to add it so that it's title, because then you don't have to contact anybody, right? Like, everything's on here. So the other things that are confusing is where it says net offer price. That kind of was confusing for people. And then, let's see, the other thing is if you go up a little bit more, when you're trying to do an inspection, it won't let you say like that you're not having one. Is it a little further? Where should it go? There it is. Inspection period. Like, if you're not doing one, you have to put a number in there. So that's one part that's a little
It won't let
annoying.
you say none.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, it does. There's something else on there that won't let you put a number in there. I don't remember what it is, but anyway. So, and then a lot of times questions are, okay, what, like appraisal guarantee, what does that even mean? Am I doing that?
Yeah,
And
this
then
should have an opportunity right
text
here
box.
to put a text box
Yeah.
or a number.
Right.
Or a number. Right.
So that's the thing, is there's a couple of tweaks we need to make on this. And I always get questions like, what does that mean? What do they net? And really what that was, if you look two above, it says seller paid closing costs.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
seller paid is where they're paying for the buyer. But one of the things, that you can do is, I was trying to offer to, they don't understand it,
Right.
but I was trying to offer to them that we would pay the seller's closing costs as a buyer.
Oh, I see.
And but the listing agents don't understand that.
Right.
So then I had to just stop offering it, because I'm like, no. They're like, well, why would they do that? I'm like, to make our offer better. And they're like, oh.
I guess right here, you could just make this a negative number.
Yeah.
And then down here, make this, like 405.
Right.
Something like that. That's usually, seller paid closing costs is the number one thing that will change the net.
Yes.
There are other opportunities to affect the net in here, but there are, but I can't even think of an example right now off the top of my head.
Do you remember when Shane Montoya came in and he talked about some of the things that won in multiple offers, and one of them was he had a seller and the buyer offered them a year's worth of tacos at a restaurant on Grand Avenue. And so that was where my mindset came in, is what else can we offer?
Yes.
So can we pay their $500 for title work?
You
Like,
can pay.
yes, we can do that, right?
Yeah.
And how do I document it? So that was kind of where I went into that. So,
Yep.
But again, it was outside the box and people didn't understand it. So then I was like, oh, frick, just, do you want tacos instead? Like, whatever, right? Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, I know there's been a few interesting ones. I had a pizza and beer clause one time, and now ever since then I just call it the pizza and beer clause, even if there's not pizza and beer in it. It's my own way of kind of reminding myself that. But kind of back to the offer summary sheet. Use the offer summary sheet and attach it as part of your offer, within the PDF. But I would say, even more importantly, put it in the body of the email. Just make little bullet points, hit the highlights, don't skip anything. If there are seller pays in there where you're asking for the seller to pay some of the buyer's closing costs, just because it doesn't look good, don't skip it on your summary on the email that you're sending to the agent. But it's important to summarize it in the email for multiple reasons. It gets right to the point, you look organized, there's no dancing around or digging that they need to do to figure it out. Oftentimes, if there's a lot of offers on the house, that is the quickest way for this agent to quickly reference everything about your client. So I have seen, I told you about some of the bad, I have seen some rock star offers submitted to me where I got call, a text with what's going on, asking all the right questions. A follow-up text message saying offer on the way, a follow-up text message saying offer should be in your email now. And then, I probably should have went digging for one of them that just stood out to me, but really just a detailed summary of everything that the listing agent and your sellers need to know, how you as the agent, your team, and these buyers are going to bring value to them, basically. Laying out, a lot of you probably feel like you're not part of a team yet, you feel like you're an individual agent, but keep in mind, just by virtue of being here, you are on a team, and you have infrastructure here, and you have a front desk. Some of you are using transaction coordination, some of you aren't, but you have access to that. We have, we have a title company right here on site that we have immediate, easy access to. Lay out for them and refer to yourself in plural too, I think is really important. Don't necessarily say, refer to yourself as I or me, just, treat yourself, and reference yourself as being part of a team, or the rest. I think it brings immediate, if not credibility, it just shows that you are not on an island, and you're not going to be, trying to wing your way through a transaction. You've got support and infrastructure behind you on that. I think that's a really important element to keep in mind. So as far as your offer presentations go, you're on a team. So plus you've got Jessica in your back pocket. She's a rock star. So
Thank you.
Oops, what did I just do here? Let's see here. As far as the right down here, as far as the pre-approval letter goes, a lot of times your client will apply and they will get kind of a generic one right out of the gates. It really is important, I think, to have their lender generate a fresh pre-approval letter based on the actual terms that they're going to use with the property's address on it. That just makes you look specific and organized, and that they don't feel like they're just getting some random canned letter. A lot of your buyers are talking to lenders right now that are basically pre-underwriting them. I think that is a super valuable thing to say. A lot of sellers won't necessarily know what that means, but hopefully the listing agents do and can convey that to them. But that's basically, they're providing, your buyers are providing to the lender right out of the gates, pay stubs, bank statements, just actual documentation, not just kind of what they said on an online application. So, and then they can kind of run it through a junior underwriter, or kind of a pre-underwriting process, basically saying, yes, we have checked their assets, their income, their credit, and everything is backed up. And essentially, if the collateral is worth what it is, basically, then they're good to go. I think that is super important. So have the lender, next one is have the lender or call or email the listing agent. This is a nice touch, I think. I know that these listing agents, if they got a ton of offers, they are getting inundated from 20 different directions. If it's a good listing agent, what I do is, I'm not going to call every lender on every pre-approval letter. Once we've kind of decided the offer that we're going to work with, I will make a personal phone call to them at that point. That being said, I think at a minimum, your buyers really should suggest that their lender email the listing agent, just to kind of back up, to sort of affirm what it says on the pre-approval letter. So I think that is a nice touch, and it's once again showing you are organized and ready to rumble.
Do you have them call?
I do ask, depends on who the lender is too, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, my normal guy, Leor, I ask, he automatically calls, right?
Does he?
And so
Okay, great.
I'll say to him, okay, I'm submitting in 20 minutes, or I just submitted, and then he picks up the phone and calls them. And a lot of times he will find out more information than I do about how, because he asks, like, how many offers are there? You know,
Oh, yeah, like
how
he was-
strong is this, right? Because sometimes agents talk.
Yeah.
And so and they will say back to me, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Or sometimes they're like, you're the only one who had a lender call me,
Yeah, that's cool. That's
you
cool.
know?
Yep.
So,
And that's why it's really nice, if you can, to guide your buyers as best that you can to a reputable lender, someone who you hopefully have some familiarity with and trust. But otherwise, somebody that, you know, maybe you've spoken to, and you never want to talk to someone's lender and then go back to the buyer and say, you know, I talked to them, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a fan. I mean, that's always that's probably not a best practice. But that being said, there are certain lenders who I think, you know, right now I'm working with this buyer-seller combo, and he's having his aunt do his loan. She's at US Bank. She's been doing mortgages since the Great Depression, and she's bored with it all at this point. She's got zero personality, and so, you know, do I want her calling,
right?
you know, the
Probably
listing
not.
agent? Probably not, but at a minimum, an email there. But, you know, I've got, you know, 1, 2, 3 lenders I love. I think they just absolutely can convey confidence. And like Jessica said, they, you know, can get into a more engaging conversation and maybe extract a few things that you otherwise can't as an agent. So, but yes, calling great, email at a minimum, and maybe some language in the pre-approval letter. Another good thing too, I guess, just before I kind of tie that one up, if they offer, I have one lender that broadcasts this because it's an awesome thing, is if they have everybody set up on automated benchmark notifications as the loan process goes along, selling agent or listing agents love that. They love it, because then they're able to like offer an update along the way to their sellers, and they look like a genius. So, you know, if your buyers are working with lenders, ask if they offer that. Technology's changing so fast in the lending industry that a lot of them are now. Dare I say most of them are now being set up on these automated kind of like workflow systems with automatic notifications when they hit certain benchmarks. But you know what? Sell that right out of the gates. Take everything you can get. Sorry, this is kind of jumping around a bit, but you know, next one down the list here, I'll put my little mouse on it. What is really important to the seller? This is a very generalized question, but I think it's an important question. What I like about that question, sometimes you will extract something from them outside of the realm of just offer numbers, and you know, more. You can get a lot more arbitrary information from that about kind of what their plans are, where they're going, why this might be important versus that. Next one, is there anything they don't want included in the purchase? Oh, I think that's referencing, like I said, this whole list is kind of a hodgepodge of HHGs in mine, so some of this I didn't put in here. I think what that's referencing is probably personal property, I'm guessing. Like, you know, I think a lot of sellers kind of concede that there's things in the house that just kind of have to stay. You know, they just like, everybody usually leaves it behind. Their agent's probably saying that. You know, everybody leaves behind their washer and dryer. I know that you just spent $2,000 on your washer and dryer, and they have a really cool deep wrinkling feature that you're in love with and all this kind of stuff. That would be an opportunity for maybe them to take them with them or something like that. So, you know, is there anything that the seller really likes that maybe they wanted to bring with them? You have to be careful. I mean, these are things you have to agree with your buyer, that you're going to, you know, offer up the possibility of personal property in the house that would typically stay, not staying, but anyway, it's just another thing, right? What am I doing? Move some things around here because I'm starting to get boxed out. Trying to scroll, but I can't scroll on this. What can I do to get this deal done today? This is, when there's multiple offers, a lot of times there is already they've kind of, there's a plan in place, so they're gonna call highest and best. These, listing agents usually have this conversation ahead of time with their sellers. Hey, let's get it going on Thursday or Friday, whatever, and if we get X number of offers right away, let's just plan to wait till Sunday or Monday or what have you. But I've had a couple situations in the not so distant past here where agent called me. We usually list our homes on Friday. I've had, by noon Friday, I've had agents call me and ask this very question: what would it take to get this done today? And it's important, especially when there's like the seller's got 3 dogs and 4 kids, and they're exiled from their house for the weekend, and that you can bring something strong to the table, but the goal of this obviously isn't to stay out of multiple offers. That's why you're asking this question. And so if you can strategically use that sentence in the right situation, you could potentially save yourself and your buyer a lot of pain and anguish on Monday morning. So keep that one in your back pocket. Compliment the listing agent. I think that's more along the lines of compliment the listing. That's what I usually do. I'd be like, hey, great listing. You obviously counseled them well. That place looks awesome. It's just, they clearly followed your advice. Even if they didn't, they clearly followed your advice. And just, whatever about the situation is, that sheds a positive light on the listing agent if they're good at their job. Sometimes even if they're not. Have your buyers write a personal letter. So this one is, quite the topic of controversy lately. I don't even know if I necessarily call this a best practice per se anymore, but it's definitely something that you need to give your buyers the opportunity to do. It can be impactful. I would tell them to write one if they want to write one. Have it in ready. It's going to fit certain situations with certain houses and certain sellers. And other times it's just not. And a lot of times what I do is I will, as a buyer's agent, I will ask permission. Can I include a personal letter? And if they say yes, because the listing agent knows them, I don't, they think that there might be some emotion tied to this decision somehow, throw it in there. If a lot of listing agents out there do not want them, they don't want them, and I understand why a lot of them don't want them, because there's decision-making based on facts, and then there's there's emotionally based decision-making, and the two don't play nicely together.
Yeah.
It muddies the water dramatically when, you've got somebody giving some story that is now fully infected the seller's heads. And that being said, if it helps your buyer, it helps your buyer. So I say, have them write one. Did you?
I was gonna say, just make sure, we talked about it recently, make sure that there are no pictures.
Yep, it says right next to it.
Okay.
No pictures. So,
right.
And if you've talked to them about why no pictures, great. But it just limits your liability, limits your seller's liability. So as far as any potential perceived bias. So personal letter, I say yes with an asterisk. I listed my sister's house last year. My sister is the biggest empath on earth.
Oh.
And she was open to letters.
All the letters.
And she was open to letters, and it was a hot listing in Shoreview, really, really high demand area, and it just was on water, and this big, fully renovated Rambler, had 4 gazillion showings, 4 gazillion offers, and my sister wanted to know the life story of every single buyer. And
So where were you born?
If she hadn't been my sister, I might have had to kill her. So, and it just totally muddied the waters. So anyway, let's see here. Possession creativity, going down the list here. Possession creativity. A lot of agents don't ask this, and I say ask it. The easy one to ask is just delayed possession. So that means that's where I put 24 to 48 hours. That's, you know, when there's the line on the purchase agreement that says, you know, seller shall deliver possession immediately is the usual answer. Ask at the time of offer, do they need a day to move? Do they, you know, if we close on a Friday and all their moving help is coming Saturday, do you want a day or two or the whole weekend for that matter? Gotta ask, you know. A lot of finding moving trucks is sometimes hard. They're booked way out, or it's just hard to find good ones or reasonable ones now. Ask the question, you know, do they need, I have an old lady in this listing that we have closing here at the end of the month, and she's, you know, been in this house for 50 years, and she's closing on her new condo the same day that we're closing on her sale of her longtime house. And it was a huge deal to her to have 24 hours, a simple 24 hours, where she could close on the condo later on that day, go home, and the kids are coming over, and they're gonna move, you know, kind of move the last vestiges of her things out of the house. And then she wants to have it cleaned and looking all immaculate. I think that is an underutilized question. The rent back idea as well. So there are lots of situations that you don't know until you ask, where the seller might need to close on their sale faster. Sometimes it's to access their proceeds for whatever reason. Sometimes there's, you know, relocation type gymnastics that are going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. When you're asking what's important to them, asking what they need, asking about dream closing dates, as you should be, that's where maybe that light bulb can go off in your head about, hey, you know, maybe we can help you on that front. And you know, this is assuming that your buyers have some flexibility. How do I get to that easier? I'm not sure what I have. Oh, I think it just says remove contingencies at the bottom, but I'm going to skip that one for now because we're going to kind of get into, you know, maybe a real world scenario on offer analysis and contingencies. Up to the next column here, home warranty with seller coverage. So, you know, home warranties have been kind of an enigma in the real estate industry for a long time. When I think of home warranties, having been in the industry for way too long, I always think of like Edina Realty, and they always have their little affiliation thing. They're always trying to sell their home warranties to their buyers, and really it was more of a buyer thing. You know, it was just trying to get a buyer to, you know, peace of mind type thing. I don't know if they were cut in on the business affiliation or what, but just same with you. Jessica, you find the same thing, that seller warranties in the past haven't been a real super prevalent thing, or have you used them? I guess I'm curious your take on it.
Before the market switched, I used them with every offer.
You did? Well, there you go. That's another perspective.
I would put them on every single one, and
what was your rationale?
it was a value add for my clients, and if I could get the seller to pay for it, then great.
Okay, so that was probably the main goal.
Yep, and that was, so that was from 2013 to this market, right?
Like a more balanced environment.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're okay. I mean, the thing is we weren't having tons of multiples, and then it would be like, well, you could negotiate it, right? Mm-hmm. And then now what I tell people is, well, obviously because of the market, we don't ask for it, but if the market wasn't totally insane, I'd say, let's just wait and see what kind of house we get that you want to put an offer in on. And if it is like, whoa, you know, we can put that in And we also can ask for it once we get the inspection done. I'd rather ask for it then than to have it be in the offer and then they turn us down because we're the only ones that asked for that.
Yes, yep. I think that's spot on. I think in this, where it helps you in this current market, in my opinion, is a couple places. We're seeing more and more offers with no inspection contingencies. And that is not something you want to advise per se, but you have to be able to, this is a great spot to talk about inspection contingencies as well too, but you have to be able to basically verbalize to your buyers, hey, I recommend 100 inspections, typically 100% of the time, all things being equal. That being said, depending on the type of house you're buying or what the situation is, or how many offers there are, and you will probably be up against offers with no inspection contingencies. It's just probably going to happen. I think last weekend, a couple weekends ago, I had this house that I think Thomas. That house is fraught with problems. It's got a wood foundation and just a multitude of other things that don't get you going on that house. Got 9 offers on it, and 4 of them had no inspection. And as a listing agent, I was looking at these offers with no inspections, and I was kind of scared. I was scared for them. I was scared for the seller a little bit. I'm like, your disclosure statement better be spot on, because these people are not doing due diligence on a house that I think has plenty to be concerned about. And so, and as it turned out, that's exactly how it played out. So, taking down the inspection contingency, you have to be very careful with that. If it's a townhouse that's not very old, and a lot of the big ticket items like foundation and roof and windows and patios or decks and siding and all that kind of stuff is the responsibility of the association, and you're really just dealing with interior items and some plumbing and electrical, which usually aren't really a problem with newer places. When I say newer, I mean 20, 25 years old. HVAC obviously is always going to be a consideration, but there's a lot of townhouse situations where a home warranty will come in very handy for you because that's going to cover most of those items. Home warranties, never think of them as a substitute for an inspection, but they can be a very reasonable buffer for any situation where the buyer's even thinking about it. So I guess my point is, if you've come to the determination after going through the pros and cons with your buyer that they want to waive inspection, I would press them on the warranty a little bit. So the other reason in this market that I think warranties can be very useful from a strategy standpoint is what it says right there, home warranty with seller coverage. A seller coverage on home warranties, that's usually an add-on rider, but it's not much. I think Cinch is on my mouse pad I'm using right now. She's back again. What happened? Let's show you this, but that's okay, it's not that important. Cinch is one that they've come and spoke at our team meeting recently. Jennifer Ganya is one of the reps there. Jason Hudova, I think, is their newest rep. Mm-hmm. And I've known Jason far longer than I would like to admit, and he is a riot and really good guy. So I think he was a team leader over at Woodbury, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. So there would be one place to start. Who have you used in the past? Probably.
I used Peter Jackson with Home Warranty Incorporated.
Is that before he directed King Kong?
Yeah.
Or is that different Peter Jackson?
It is. Well, And Lord of the Rings?
Yep.
Yes.
So he does home warranties and
He does. He
movies.
does it all, you know, and he's a preferred vendor. So,
Okay.
so Cinch and Home Warranty Inc. are both preferred vendors, and the reason that we suggest them is because a ton of agents in this office have used them. There are other companies that people use. Obviously, we only can have 2 companies in the same field in our preferred vendor program, right? So, the thing I like about Peter's program is that it is for 14 months, not 12.
Nice.
And they have absolutely free seller coverage. So for 6 months, while you have a listing, they'll cover it, meaning if something happens, the seller will need to pay to have somebody come and look at it, right? Like, it's like, I don't know, I call it a copay, whatever those are called, like a trip charge or whatever.
Yep.
You come out, they look at it. If it is broken, they replace it. If repaired or fixed, right, or replaced.
Yep.
That's something that I can provide the day that I sign that listing with them, and it's for 6 months. So
Nice. Okay.
that's a big.
That's huge. I love that. And in fact, it's not extra. I think with Cinch, I want to say it's like $65 for the seller coverage or something like that. And then another one, I just had an offer with a warranty recently that had seller coverage as well, and that one was about the same.
Yeah, and as soon as you're withheld, you can apply it. Like, you don't have to be on the MLS, right? Which reminds me, I need to get one of my clients on it. But, you know, because you never know, like, if something happens.
Yep.
And then you're a super gigantic hero if all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, our furnace went out. Hey.
Guess what? Yeah, we got you covered.
Right?
Yeah, and that's a big uncomfortable conversation too, with, especially as a listing agent, you're pending with you're a listing agent, your listing is pending, and also you get a call. So my washer broke, and do I have to give them the same washer again, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's like, oh gosh, but that, so that can be a really nice tool for good strategery for you as a buyer's agent, is to throw the home warranty on there. It is an expense to your buyer, obviously. But what would you say the average cost would be? $500 maybe?
Yeah.
Or
500. So, and then Home Warranty Inc., what they'll do is they'll give you a discount if there's some sort of discount that they give. And what I end up doing is I get them more coverage.
Okay.
So,
nice.
like kind of like a referral, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So seller warranty. I'm sorry, home warranty. So next one down, shorter inspection contingency or no inspection. We just had the whole no inspection conversation a little bit. The short, if your buyers want an inspection, that is a very, very elementary move to get a shorter inspection contingency. It moves the process along a little bit faster. From the perspective of the seller, they want to know if they got a deal or they don't have a deal, and they don't want to wait 10 days to do it. And so 10 days has kind of been the standard for years and years generally, but I can't remember the last time I saw an offer with a 10-day inspection contingency on it. It's been 7 max, generally, I've been seeing. If you see one that says like 3, you just have to be careful. It's like, okay, what are you gonna do in or 2 or something like that, 2 or 3 days? If you're gonna do that, you better have an inspector like teed up and ready to go, because if we decide, yeah, we got a deal, and all of a sudden you're calling around looking for inspectors, especially during the busy season, during vacation season, and now you can't get an inspector for 3 or 4 days. You gotta crawl back with your tail between your legs and say, well, about that. So if you do not have an inspection company or inspector that you have familiarity or a relationship with, I would recommend doing that like immediately. Just find someone, ask for a recommendation on the Facebook page. you know, go on Yelp or something, whatever, Angie's List, however you think is the best way to find somebody. You will get tons of recommendations in this office. You don't even probably have to go beyond that. And I would call them, introduce yourself, and kind of ask, hey, what's your general availability? What do you charge? How far do you go? Are there, because sometimes there's trip charges. Some people won't even go beyond certain areas. I've used Amerispec in the past quite a bit, and they're kind of more of a franchise situation. And they will, if they have to go beyond outside the 7 county metro, I think sometimes there's a trip charge involved with that or something, and ask, what they charge, kind of on it's, they usually base it on finished square footage and all that kind of stuff. So, but get an inspector in your back pocket, and that way if you do need to have an inspection contingency, you can speak with confidence that you're gonna be able to meet the timelines that you're offering. So, next one down, reserve your inspection slot and tell the listing agent. This kind of like, dovetails into what I was just saying. You can actually, I've had this done a couple times, and I thought it was pretty classy. Call up the listing agent and say, hey, it's Saturday, here's the offer on this place. I know you're not making a decision until tomorrow, but we have an inspector lined up for Monday. That looks like you are on your game. And it makes you look serious too. It makes you look like we expect to win here. That's a wonderful strategy if you can, if you have a resource to do that. So, keep that one in your back pocket as well. Create an as-is addendum and send with offer. And I put careful there because, hello.
Hi, I was just on Zoom, now I'm here.
Oh, nice. Well, it's great to see a live face. Create as-is addendum, send with offer. As-is addendums are very, very, they're not to be trifled with kind of your average run-of-the-mill buyer who is not dripping with resources, basically. An as-is addendum is it carries a lot of legal weight and consequence to it, so just be careful using them. In my career, 99.9% of the as-is addendums that I've seen and used have been with investor transactions. So when you're making an investor offer on a home, often at a discount, usually an as-is addendum is a way to grease the wheel. And as an investor, you better be willing, obviously, also to take on whatever is there. So as-is addendums also come in handy in situations like estates. That's probably the most commonplace. I've seen as-is addendums in owner-occupied transactions. But usually in those situations, there's an as-is addendum because like the probate attorney or the family is asking for one. Like it's baked into the cake. This is just part of the deal. We need an as-is addendum. So, and it is what it is. From a strategy standpoint, I probably, generally speaking, wouldn't go there with your buyers. If your buyers are spending time on Google because they're getting their butts kicked every weekend trying to figure out ideas, and one of them says to you, hey, what if we just started offering as is on every house? Just hit the pause button and explain to them, actually give them an as is addendum. Because there's big, giant 28 font bold language at the bottom of an as is addendum to say that you are relinquishing all rights. I can't exactly remember what it says, but paraphrasing, you're relinquishing a lot of your rights basically by signing this document. There is no recourse after the fact. I don't think as is addendums, when one's involved, I don't think you can take that deal to arbitration if it's regarding condition. Generally with as is addendum, there's no disclosure. So I've never seen a full seller disclosure and an as is addendum in the same transaction before. I've ever seen it. It could happen certainly, but I've never seen it. So usually disclosures getting waived in those situations. But anyway, I guess my point is, if a buyer asks you about that, or you're putting in your creative cap, trying to figure out a way to win a house, be careful on the edges then. So I would refer you to Melissa Johnson on any more discussion about that. I guess as far as like how much to offer. This next one, rule of thumb, 1.5 to 2%. This was something that HHG had in their list. I kept it in here. That math is not exact every time, but it's actually not the worst guide. We are seeing, it's just every transaction is such a snowflake, and so it's hard to really put a strong number on that. That's a reasonable rule of thumb. What I like to do is, and basically, if you've got 10 offers, the house is probably, if you use the 2% figure, if you got 10 offers, the house is going to sell for 20% over this. That's kind of the basic math there, or the concept behind it. So I have been having more buyer's agents than ever just flat out ask me with just no fear, what price do I need to win? And you know what? I love that. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you more often than not, but a lot of listing agents will just flat out tell you more than you ever thought you would get out of them. So don't be shy. Ask what it's going to take. Absolutely ask if there's multiple offers, or how many offers do you have so far? I think a couple weekends ago, the first 5 agents asked me that question. How many offers do you have so far? That's a lot of agents, what percent? I would say most agents will share that with you, either the exact number or approximately. And that works back into that, formula on my prior point too, that will help you. I wouldn't dance around price too much, because the worst they can say is no. And honestly, the really good listing agents out there probably respect the fact that you're going to bat for your folks. So it's kind of weird in Minnesota how, I might go off on a tangent here, but the negotiation process in general is so different in the Midwest than it is like, in California or something like that, where nobody wants to offend anybody, and we all like to talk, and it's just a very different environment. I remember, it doesn't really apply in this market because generally you're not seeing any lowballs. But when I was in the investor realm, I think working with and against a lot of other investors, it's just kind of so funny. It's kind of baked into our Minnesota DNA that we don't want to offend anybody, right? This especially comes in play when I'm dealing with the states. It's already a sense. You just don't want to offend anybody, but yeah, build a rapport, ask the questions, get your answer sometimes a lot faster. A lot of newer listing agents don't even know what they should or shouldn't be saying. Let's see here, next one, coach clients on inspection expectations. Yeah, that's kind of in a random spot. That's kind of I think we just kind of covered that a little bit ago. Old house addendum. I know HHG has a copy of one of these. Jessica, have you ever used one of these old house addendums before?
I have not, but I know HHG does
Yeah.
all the time.
In a nutshell, what it is it works especially in areas like Minneapolis and St. Paul, where it's just an old house. So, and I did something similar. I had a listing last fall, and it was up in Frogtown neighborhood of St. Paul, and it was built in like 1910. And it had a ton of work had been done on it, but you go down the basement and it just feels like Silence of the Lambs down there, and it's beautiful upstairs, but there's cobwebs in your hair when you come out of the basement, basically. So there's a lot going on with old houses. This codes and the standards and everything were completely different, and most inspectors worth their salt will be able to point those things out to you, but sometimes it gives sellers of those types of homes a little warm fuzzy when you include a old house addendum. Ask Livia or Jason, probably more specifically, if they could send you what they have. My battery's not. But it can be a way to basically say, in a nutshell, we acknowledge the fact that you are selling a very old house. We acknowledge the fact that there are lots of things wrong with an old house, and we are willing to, look at that from that perspective that, we're not going to ask for anything that would be considered out of the ordinary for a house of this age. Kind of what an old house is, I guess, in a nutshell. So, how are we doing? Are we going to 11 or 10 or?
To the hour, but that's about 4 minutes slow. Of those next group, which ones do you think would be the most important?
When are we wrapping on this?
On the hour.
Oh, I thought we were going till, I thought we were 90 minutes. Seriously? Oh, I'm sorry.
90 minutes, just started at 10:30.
Yeah, okay. Or I'm sorry, I thought we were going till 11:30. No? Okay. Well, what of these would be the most important things that we can hit?
Escalation clause, maybe?
Yeah, escalation clauses. My big point on that is ask the seller's agent if they are taking enough. That's a yes or a no question. If you consider that a valid strategy, and I think they can be, ask if they are accepting them first, because sometimes they won't. I forgot to ask, or I forgot to actually just say no escalation clauses a couple weekends ago. I got like 4, so.
Appraisal guarantee is.
Appraisal guarantee, yes, that one is, that one's tricky because, especially when you're dealing with first-time home buyers, company minimum balance, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for a lot of us to do that, so.
Hey.
And,
Hello?
hello.
Hey, yes, Brendan Poole.
Hello. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, how's it going? I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sharing a screen right now. Can you see?
Yep, so yep, I'm here. What's
Did I call you? You still there?
I think Jesse's disappointment for something.
Yeah, you said what?
Did you have a specific question?
It sounds like you're in the bathroom. I really can't hear you.
What did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't understand you there.
He said he can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
We have to end this, so because we have a case score meeting.
On the same call?
Yep.
Oh, there we go, okay.
So
All right, we're just wrapping something up
Thomas-
here, sorry about that.
Jenny
Yeah.
and Thomas, you can get more information. It's just start at 12, so
Okay.
we gotta.
I'm
end
sorry,
it
I brought
now.
60 minutes worth of material for you. So, but yeah, you can get my information from Jessica if you wanted to talk about any more of this kind of stuff. I had a couple other, this thing I have on my screen right now, I'm happy to share this. This is, there's multiple versions of this. I think we even have something like this on our Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm happy to share this, so. But any quick questions before I wrap here? Anything? No?
Thank you, Dean.
Trivia? I take trivia questions? Okay. All right, thanks. Appreciate everybody. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, stop sharing, and then top right X. Oops, we don't want to leave it for all, but.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it was.
So it was 10:30, I think 10:30 to noon. I think that clock hasn't been adjusted for daylight savings time.
Wait, is it noon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that clock hasn't been changed.
Yeah, it's 12:04 in fact. But, yeah, so she.
So I did run long, okay. All right, I was looking at that clock regularly, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna fit all this material into another hour.
You're like time.
So, but, okay. My That's my curse.
Yeah. So, what's the next steps? You know, I'm Brendan Poole. I'm on the Zoom call.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we have got it under control here. So, Irene, if you want to let everybody else know that they can hop on, I will get my notebook. Okay, so I can only see your phone number. So the person who was just talking, tell me your name.
Yeah, I'm Brendan Poole.
Okay.
Yep, Brendan Poole.
Nice to meet you, Brendan. So we had a session called Ignite, and so it was for new agents. And the funny thing is that the clock in the room wasn't fixed from daylight savings time. So Dean thought he had another hour, and I'm like, Dean, you only get an hour and a half, right? And so he just keeps going, and I'm like, you're gonna need to stop right now. So, oh my gosh, that's how it goes, right? He's like, wait a minute, what time is it? So, and I think we have, Irene, I think we have Heather and someone else too.
Justine, yeah, I told them
Justine,
they could log back on.
Okay,
Hi, Taylor.
perfect.
Hi, y'all.
Great that you could join us.
Yeah, I just got internet about 2 minutes ago, so I'm
Oh, well, perfect timing.
yeah. I just got like 800 text messages all at one time too.
Oh my gosh. Wow. All right. So Brendan, we're going to start with you. If you can just, while other people are hopping on, if you can tell me a little bit about yourself, what have you done in the past job-wise, and what interests you in real estate?
All right. In the past, and still currently, I work for the state, Catholic Charities, or Salvation Army. I do client advocacy, and basically we just help out homeless within the city, reach out, do outreach, resource, get apartments for them, clothing, food, et cetera, et cetera. I've been doing that for like 3 years now. Before that, I was just helping out with as a PCA, helping out with disability patients through direct healthcare. And now I'm just interested in real estate because it's definitely like the next step. I'm 26, only getting older. It's a great investment. Right now, I just had a newborn, so I definitely don't want to be renting forever. And I definitely want to get into the market of selling properties.
Sure. Awesome. Okay, thank you. And let's see, Heather, would you tell us a little bit about yourself? So what am I saying? Share a little bit about what you've done in the past, and then what interests you in real estate.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. I'm Heather. I live in Maple Grove. Currently, I am working in the field of commercial heating and air conditioning. So I'm a dispatcher. I have a hand in coordinating, scheduling a large number of technicians for installation projects and service calls as well. In the past, I have been in the hospitality industry. So like working with people, I like a variety, I like challenges. Kind of looking for a change. My current job, I've been there for about 9 years, and looking to just, expand my knowledge. I've always had an interest in houses and the real estate as a whole. So just kind of taking a step towards seeing what opportunities are out there.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you, Heather. And Justine, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself. So what you've done in the past, job-wise, and then what interests you in real estate.
Hello. Yeah, so I currently am a warranty administrator for Jaguar and Land Rover. I've been in the industry for 12 years, and I'm looking for a career change, something that is what I want to do. I've been doing this just because it's what I know how to do. I grew up around the auto industry. But I really want to get into designing, staging, and selling homes.
Okay. All right. So, Irene, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Irene. I'm Jessica's admin. Nice to meet all of you. I do a lot of the behind the scenes work for her, send messages and texts and that type of thing. Lived in Minnesota most of my life. I'm currently in Georgia now. We moved to be near grandchildren, and I'm so glad that all of you could join us today.
Awesome. Thank you. And Taylor. Oh, you're muted.
I'm Taylor. I've just been with Keller Williams since October last year, and recently closed a couple deals and lots more in the pipeline. So thanks to Jessica and Irene, a lot further along than I would have been otherwise. So yeah, it's great having the team at Keller Williams. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And just so you guys know, I like to have an agent on with us when we do these, just so that you can kind of, so they can learn what we're doing with new agents, but also then if they want to, share anything that maybe they went through too, that's always a nice thing. Or if you guys have questions too. So my name is Jessica Ourin. I am the productivity coach here at Keller Williams Preferred Realty. And what that means is that I help all agents who are new to Keller Williams or new to real estate, and really help you get your career launched and off and running. I do also have a team, and that's True North Homes. So I do sell real estate. I've been in real estate since 2013. And I first was licensed in New York, and then we moved back to Minnesota, and it was super different in New York. I was upstate New York, so I wasn't like New York City, but totally different. And I used to be an elementary school teacher, first, second, third grade Montessori classroom style. And I always joke that I learned I like to teach adults more than children, which is a good thing to realize when you are with them every day, all day, right? The thing that I really love about what I do is that I get to help people, kind of realize their potential, right? And that's my favorite thing is, as I tell people all the time, is like, I see in you what you eventually will see in yourself, right? And that's what's so amazing about what I do. And it's just really fun being able to do that. So a little bit about the process. So when you get licensed, you need to do a couple of different things. Keller Williams has launched a program called K-Score, and that is where we provide the education for you. It's at no cost to you. And there's two different components of it. The first one is called KW Prep. That is basically going to be a video series that you're going to watch, and then a downloadable that you're going to complete. And in that series, it is, 17 videos. They're 5 to 7 minutes long. And then the downloadable is an activity that goes along with that video. And like the cool thing is when agents came in and hadn't done that yet, because it just launched in December, now like Taylor's going through it, and we go through a module every week and kind of go over what those things are. So it's everything that you don't learn in real estate school. So it's going to be, what are your goals? What is your big why? What is your daily schedule look like? How do you generate leads, right? All of the things you need to do that they'll never tell you at Kaplan, right? Like, you're just learning the laws, and like, you'll be licensed at the end. You don't know all the other things, right? So that is the first part. It's always going to be, in this whole process, it's self-paced. So you're going to be able to log on when you want. You watch the video, you do the activity. The thing for KW Prep is it's not going to take you a ton of time, right? I have had people complete it in a day, which I would not suggest, because some of them are like, no, now that you've thought about it, right? And you're like, well, yeah, I did just think about it. Like I was just done. And now they're asking me to think about it again. Right. There's supposed to be time in between that, right? Not 2 minutes. And then what you'll do is you'll email us when you're done. You'll email all 17 modules of the downloadable to us. And then we will provide you with the code for Kaplan. And so let me back up a little bit. So once we're done here, Irene will send you the KW Prep email with the registration link. You'll get started on that. When you're done, you send us all the modules, and then she will send you the email for Kaplan. When you do that, you're going to go log on, and you're going to basically put the courses in your cart, and it explains it all in the email. It's going to be 3 courses that you're taking. It's pretty genius here. It's course 1, 2, and 3. And when you do that, it'll say that it's $729. When you put that coupon code in, it zeroes it out. If there's anything else that you want to get, you don't need to get anything, but if you wanted to get like study materials or whatever, that you will be responsible for paying. So that'll be in addition to $0, right? I will say you don't need to buy anything else, right? You'll be fine with that. I do have firsthand knowledge of what it looks like because my daughter just turned 18 last month and she started taking it. And I was like, wait, let me see that page. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, wait, no, can you do a screenshot of that? She's like, Mom. I'm like, oh, sorry. But so the cool thing is, I was super excited is we've had a couple companies that are like reading, right? You're just reading. And this is not like that. There is, there's videos that you watch as well. So then basically you'll have like units, right? And when you complete all the units for course 1, you will have a proctored exam at the end. They will explain how that gets done. Once you do that for all 3 courses, you will have 3 certificates saying that you have finished all the coursework. And then you're going to reach out to Pearson VUE, and you'll get this in an email as well. Pearson VUE is the testing company. So you will then schedule your test. Do not do it online, even if you're like, oh, but it's so much easier, because it has to do with your setup. And if somebody comes in and starts talking to you, they'll be like, oh, we're canceling this, you're cheating, right? Or whatever the case is. Also, if you lose internet, you have to start over. So easiest thing is to go in person, take the test. There are 2 tests. There's state and national. State is going to be, state is 3 hours and 90 questions. National is 4 hours and 120 questions. That doesn't mean you have to take all 4 hours or all 3 hours, right? If you are good at test taking, then schedule both in one day. If you're not, like me, I did one at a time, right? They basically will give you, they'll like print out a sheet and hand it to you with your mug shot on it, and it'll say pass or fail, right? My brother's like, oh my God, this is brutal, right? And you might not pass it, right? I did not pass mine the first time. From what people tell me, state is more difficult than national. They do have study groups through Kaplan. So I was excited to see that the other day with my daughter. And so they have a lot of resources as well. If you plug into those, I would suggest that you finish Kaplan in 4 months. You get 6 months. The thing is after that time period of 4 months, like, right, what's your call to action, right? Like, get it done, right? So I would say if you were going to do it on like, how fast can I do it? You're going to be able to do a course a week, right? Because it's 30 hours. So if you did every day for whatever, 7, 8 hours, 8 hours is the most you can do in a day. Then you take the test. By the end of 4 weeks, you technically could be licensed because you've finished all 3 courses you've done the 1 week wait time for the Department of Commerce to get your license back, and by the end of the month you're licensed. Most people don't have that time, right? Availability to do that. Like you all told me, you're working, right? So what you want to do is set a goal for when you want to be done, right? And one of the things you can do is set a time to take that test. And if you know you're taking the test in a month and a half, you're going to get done with it, right? Yes, you can change your test date line, but I'm just saying, like, as a kind of a motivator. Once you have finished everything, the testing, they give you the 2 certificates. You're going to bring all 5 certificates in. We are going to apply for your license through the Department of Commerce. And that's besides paying for the testing, that's going to be the first time you're going to need to pay for something. The testing, I want to say, is about $50 a test, 40 to 50. And then you're getting your license is $122.50. So that will get applied. Like when you're here, we will apply for your license. You'll be charged that, and then it takes a full week. Your license will come back, and then there's 2 different people who will call you and say, we're so excited you got licensed and you owe us money, right? And you're like, wow, that's fun. So that is SPAR, which is the St. Paul Association of Realtors, and the MLS. And that's how you get access, the multiple listing service. That's how you get access to all the listings, all the things, you know, that nobody else gets if they're not a realtor. Those things are going to come to you in a document with your email for registration to KW Prep. Irene will send that. It's called Getting Started. In that form, you're going to use that later on in KW Prep. They're going to ask you, what are your, you know, what are the costs of things? And inevitably, you guys will forget, and you'll reach out to Irene and be like, I don't have that. And she'll say, you do. It was in your first email, right? And on that, it just explains what the costs are for everything, right? What I like to tell people is $1,800. That's what you need your first year to cover your expenses, right? The average first commission, or your average commission, is going to be like $5,000. So yes, you're going to pay for all of that and more with your first closing, which I like to tell people, like, there's very few jobs where you could go get 90 hours of training and pay $1,800, and then you can make as much as you want. As much as time you put into it, you can make whatever, right? And people will say, well, how much, you know, what's the average agent make? My question then is, do you want to be average? And then they're like, oh, no, I don't want to be average. So it really, bottom line, it depends on how much you plug in, right? And I'll tell you, Taylor plugged in a ton, and he had success immediately because he was plugging in. He was shadowing, he was seeing agents in action, and then all of a sudden he's like, I have a buyer, right? So really following those steps is really important. So then basically what happens is you're part of the productivity coaching program, and we will meet every week for group coaching, and then we'll meet every other week for a one-on-one. And at that one-on-one, we talk about what went well the past 2 weeks, what was a hurdle, right? What was a struggle? And then what do you want to do in the next 2 weeks to move your business forward? And when we do that, that keeps you on track. And it's your accountability, right? It's your coaching. And I like to use the analogy of, you know, Olympics or football, like, who doesn't have a coach, right? Do they go, you know what? I want to be in the Olympics. I'm going to get a coach 2 days before I perform, right? No, they do it throughout, right? So an important thing to look at when you look at the cost of coaching is that it is an investment, not a fee, right? Coaching is also success-based. So you are not paying me every month, right? There's some coaching programs where it's like every month I gotta, like for mine, I pay every month, right? What it is it's based on your success. So when you have a closing, you pay me. And that's the only way that I'm paid. The Market Center doesn't pay me. And I tell people, what do you think my motivation is to get you in action? Well, otherwise I'm volunteering, right? Like, and that is a lot of work to just be volunteering, right? I want you guys to be successful. So all of that breakdown of what that looks like will be on the information that you get from Irene. So there is, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting what it's called. The close, I can't remember, Irene, do you remember like the closing where it talks about the average home price and the percentages? It's on that. But basically at Keller Williams, we have a capping system. So other brokerages, like if you walked in to somebody and said, hey, what's your cap? They're like, what's my cap? What are you talking about? They're like, oh, have you been to Keller Williams? You know, and they're like, yes. So Keller Williams, everybody's on a level playing field. There's other brokerages where you walk in and you're like, how much will I make? And they're like, well, it depends. Like, how good are you going to be? Or who do you know? Or whatever, right? That's not the case here. So you come in, it's a 70-30 split. And from that 30% that you're paying into our office, you eventually cap on it. So if you have, it's an average of 6 transactions. Once you sell 6 homes, you will not be paying that in anymore for the rest of that year until you reset, right? From when you joined. Then we have something called royalty, which think of that as a franchise fee, like McDonald's, right? That goes straight to Austin, Texas. That comes out at 6%, and it's a much smaller amount of $3,000. And then I am compensated 10%. And what I tell people is, the thing is once you cap, it goes down to 5%. You have an option to either continue with coaching or end it. And obviously I'm like, well, I feel like you should continue, because what we see is when people start going like this, and then they're like, oh, I'm not going to do coaching anymore. And then their business starts to go down because they're not held accountable to anybody, right? So if you capped and everything and you were still with me, it'd be 5%. So you'd be making 95%, right? And I know that's a lot of information and a lot of numbers. You're going to get everything on paper. I just want you to be aware of what that looks like, and then reach out and ask any questions if you have them, right? But we like to be 100% transparent on what this costs, what this is going to look like. And the goal is for you to be successful, right? We want you to hit whatever benchmarks you want, and we'll help you get there. So what questions do you guys have on all of that? Because then I have 2 questions for you, which you'll text me about later.
I do not have any questions. I did used to live in California before I moved to Minnesota. So I have gone through a lot of the training, but then my husband's like, let's move to Minnesota. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I stopped. Yeah, join the cold.
Yeah.
And so I stopped doing my license over there. So I do know quite a bit of it.
Okay.
So I don't have too many questions.
Perfect. Perfect. Anybody else? I will say one of the cool things that I don't always remember to bring up. So you're all here because somebody, one of the agents in our office referred you, right? Or somebody in KW referred you. The cool thing with that is that they will then be your sponsor. And when you make, when you have a transaction and you have company dollar, the 30% that you pay in, a portion of that, because we're always profitable, a portion of that will go to that agent who was your sponsor. So our company does something called profit sharing. And they say, when we have a profit, we share it, right? And so the cool thing is when you have people join you and you are their sponsor, the exact same thing happens, right? And it is something that is a residual income, and a lot of people are using it for like retirement, right? Because it's the 21st of every month. You get paid on that as long as the people who chose you had a closing, right? There's a gentleman in our office, he and his wife together last year made $50,000 on profit share alone, right? There's somebody like, it goes 7 levels. So one of the people that I'm under makes like 1.2 million every year in just profit share, right? Like it's incredible. And it's willable for 2 generations. So it is profit share. It's not a commission. So you can give it to your kids and they can give it to their kids. And that's why we say we will, legacy is worth leaving, right? Like I was on a Zoom and we were talking about like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? Somebody said, well, what's your 50-year plan? And we were like, whoa, right? Well, obviously your 50-year plan is what are you going to give to your kids and what, like, what do you want to leave to them? And it just changes your mindset and the trajectory of where you're going to go, right? When you're like, man, this is what I'm going to do for my kids and for people, right? So that's another just amazing part. And what I tell people is that's really the foundation of Keller Williams. That's our culture, is to give back. And when you see that firsthand, immediately when you join Keller Williams, you're helping somebody else out, right? Which is super cool. So, so my 2 questions for you are, the first one is, and I want you to text me back your answers. The first one is, how much money do you need to make in the next 12 months so that this is not a hobby and that it's what you want it to be? And you're not eating ramen, right? Like you're eating more than ramen, right? Because you're like, wow, okay. The second question is, what is your big why? What is it that you, with this potential spam, always. Let's see if it up. No, of course not. Hang on. Sometimes I regret having Google Voice on my phone, on my computer. Beloit, Wisconsin, or wherever that is. I'm pretty sure there's nothing important that you need to tell me. And I lost you guys. There we go. The second one, so that's your big why. And people struggle with that, right? They're like, oh, like they think it's got to be just gigantic. It doesn't. It's just what's important to you and what do you want to do, right? I have one agent who is so excited to get a second home in Utah. That's it, right? And it stems from all the family time that they had when they used to live in Texas and they lived in California. They would go to Utah. And so that's what gets her excited and jazzed, right? It could, sometimes people are like, oh, I feel like I have to say my kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't have to say your kids, right? It's whatever you want it to be, right? Or like they feel bad that it's not their kids. And it's whatever you want it to be, right? And the reason we ask that now is because we want to know so that we can help you keep going towards it, right? So then when we have coaching or when you meet somebody else in leadership, they know that your thing is to get a house in Utah. And so then it's like, so how are you doing on that? Like, did you finish what you need to do this week so that you're closer to that? Absolutely. Or you're like, oh my God, no, I got to buckle down here, right? And it's all about tying it to something that's important to you. If I say to you, did you hit your numbers? No. Like what, right? Has nothing to do with anything, right? If I say, are you buying a Utah place this week? No, right? Or yes, right? Whatever the case is. So send me that. And we know that big whys change, right? That's not the point. It's for you to like, say this is exactly what it is. Just tell me what's important to you, right? So any additional questions? Otherwise, that's all I have for you. No? Okay. So Irene will send that information. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I said no. No, I said no.
Okay. So Irene will send that information out and then basically you just need to keep in contact with us and tell us how your progress is going, right? And obviously if you have questions, just let us know and we'll help you out. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. And Taylor, thanks for joining in.
Nice meeting everybody.
Nice meeting you
Thank you.
too.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.